Florida right now. It was raining all morning, and now it's 90 degrees. I'm in a gosh dang sauna. But take the positive, increased blood flow. So, plan for today's arm day. I think you could predict it. I think you could probably just predict it at this point, because it's really nothing too wild, right? Triceps first, combination of rope, straight bar style pushdowns, single arm D handle pushdowns, and then machine dips. And then, eh, I probably won't even go too bananas heavy either, because for as many heavy sets as I do, like for as many, you know, attaching two cable stacks together onto one handle and then doing push downs like that, for as many sets like that, I think you've got to have an equal amount of, lighter squeezing sets where you kind of hit failure in just a different fucking style. Personally, I think I tend towards those heavier, harder sets, probably subconsciously just because they're easier for me. you know, for me to sit on a let's just take leg extensions for example. For me to sit on the leg extension machine and do a weight that's so heavy I can only get 12 reps and then I'm at failure, that set is over in 12 reps. Whereas, if I put the weight to something where I can do 30 reps, really slow, really controlled, and fucking burning my ass off, I'm sitting there, that's fucking killing me. So that's part of me is thinking I'm missing out on some stimulus because I only do the sets that I like to do, like those. Whereas some of the slower, longer burning ones are kind of getting a little bit neglected in a way. But all of triceps first, followed by all of biceps. Really, just because when I'm bulking up, I kind of really lean a bit more towards the idea of totally thrashing one muscle group before moving on to the next one. Because another kind of thing that'll happen, at least with arms for me, is when I'm like actually fully carved up and hydrated. If I'm doing tricep, bicep, and at the end of the workout my whole arm is fucking pumped, it's just too much. Like it's literally, I say that like a negative. It is. It does. I do like it, but it kind of takes away from my ability to focus. Like if you're multitasking, I almost kind of feel like you're giving each task less attention than just focusing on all of one at once and then all of the other one. So for arms, I'm a bit more lenient. I don't mind a supersetted style arm day. For legs, I'm much more strict. You're not really going to catch me do, at least not often, hamstring sets, then quad sets, and hamstring sets. Back and forth like that. Just because it's kind of the same logic. I feel like by splitting up your focus onto two different muscle groups, you're getting the worst of both worlds. Like when I'm actually doing my working sets, I'm trying my best not to lose my pump while I'm actually doing that one movement. If I'm halfway through a back day and then, I'm talking to somebody and they really want to talk for, 10 minutes and I can't get away, well, actually, I don't really let that happen now, but let's say you're talking for like 10 minutes mid back day, guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose your pump, you're going to stop sweating, your heart rate's going to drop down to a normal baseline, right? Like I can imagine you've got your normal baseline heart rate, and then you've got your mid workout baseline heart rate. So, me just sitting around, like sleeping, I'm rocking around like 55 beats a minute, walking around more like 80, and then working out, which is kind of cool. I get to track all this shit now. The baseline's more like 100, 110. So mid set, I might get up to like 150, but then it comes back down. If I let it drop down to like 80 or 60 or whatever, then I'm out of the zone. So if you're going back and forth between muscle groups, I wouldn't I wouldn't want to do a tricep workout where I have like 6 minutes of rest in between some of the sets. So really, I'm just trying to say I like doing them all at once and then moving on, right? Finish your dinner before you have dessert. Kind of approach there. But I think that's all I got to say. Let's just get warmed up, and then I can't even really predict what the first tricep movement's going to be. I guess we'll just We're both gonna find out together. So let's get in there. Maybe I should have busted out the measuring tape. Honestly, see what the pumped arm measurement would have been. It's, I don't know. That one had to have at least begun to approach 20. Who's to say? Maybe save that for later. Save that for next arm day before we get some actual measurements going. But overall, quite the arm day. And apart from the machine dips were pretty heavy, and that finishing set was pretty heavy. But for biceps, like, man, 55s at the most, and it was really just mainly that work with the 50. Very nice. I could have done that arm day at home. That was one of my, I mean, that bicep workout was fucking killer, and all I needed was a 50-pound dumbbell. I could have just done it with a pair of the 50s. And that would have been it. You know, maybe I should do another home gym arm day if they're going to be so simple. But yeah, don't feel the need to overcomplicate it too much. And arms gets a little bit of a bad rap, unfortunately, just because of its simplicity. Because that's the only real gripe I hear. You know, everybody loves chest, everybody loves back. Most people don't like legs, but at least the people who do like legs like the fact that it's like, you know, you get to go heavy on squats. It's just, you know, it's kind of cool. But arms and shoulders, people kind of, I think, at least the general consensus that I've noticed is people say it's boring. You know, people say, oh, well, all you do is just a bunch of push downs and a bunch of curls. Oh, it's nothing fun. What are you fucking talking about? You know, I mean, that might be your experience. But as far as I'm concerned, if all I have to do is some push downs and curls, then that just means that I don't have to think about anything else except for the sets that are sitting in front of me. You know, with chest, I got to change gears. I got to load up a bunch of weight on a barbell, or pick up some dumbbells and like throw them up into position. There's a lot of kind of moving parts there. Whereas with arms, if you gave me one really heavy cable stack, a couple of attachments, and then a rack of dumbbells, it's really all I would need for arms. You know, of course, I like preacher curl machines. I like what else? Like, I like dip machines. I really like overhead tricep extension machines. Um, I'm not sure why they're so sparse in the gyms around here that I go to. Maybe maybe gotta find a Craigslist one, get it like delivered or something. But you know, as long as the movements that you're doing are hitting your targeted muscle in its entirety, don't feel like you have to do fucking 30 different movements in one workout. That's one comment that I'm sure I'll even get on this workout today. It's like, you only did 2 movements for biceps. In one of those movements, you only did 1 set. Sam, that's not a complete workout. What are you doing? You may as well stay at home and not even done it. I'm not so inclined to agree. I mean, I've had arm days where all I do is like just straight bar pushdowns heavy. 8 sets, whatever. Yeah, apologies. And then I move on to the dumbbell rack, and I just, kind of go down the rack doing curls. Like, start with something heavy, and then after a set of, like, let's say I did the 70s for 10, I probably can't do the 70s for 10 again, so I just drop to the 60s, maybe get like 60s for 11 or 12 or so, and then grab the 50s and maybe stay at the 50s for a while for the next few sets. I mean, I'm gonna have a nasty arm pump regardless. Don't get too, well, don't get any FOMO that you're not adequately targeting the short head of your bicep and the long head of your, as long as you, with biceps especially, triceps is a little bit of a different story, but with biceps, don't get too freaked out about like, okay, well, I need to really target my brachialis with this set, and I need to really kind of target my bicep curls are pretty simple, man. No matter what kind of curl that I do, I feel most of my fucking bicep working. Now, sometimes I do like specific movements, just because maybe if I've done some kind of heavier dumbbell curls at first, I might want to do something where I can actually kind of feel the outer, like, peak per se kind of firing. So then I might do some underhand bicep bias pull downs with the straight bar. Or I might do kind of cross body curls like this, where I hold like just the 20s and really burn out like that. But don't be, picking the right exercises is not going to be as beneficial for you gains wise as just going hard on all the exercises that you do. Keeping them simple. So no need for any kind of fancy pants, real, multiple moving parts, different kind of Arnold press style. Come on, man. A basic set of heavy dumbbell curls, some heavy push downs, or some lighter squeezing push downs like the start of the tricep workout today. And if my biceps weren't so destroyed, I probably would have done a set of lighter squeezing bicep curls to finish, probably on the incline bench. Oh. But, half of that's up to personal preference, Some guys might not they might not even like dumbbell curls at all. Maybe you're a fucking easy bar curl fan, ride or die, and you love doing fucking easy bar curls. Yeah, do it, man, As long as you're building your biceps, I'm not going to knock you. Now, if you're not, if you're plateaued and then I may be a little bit more critical, per se. Maybe you're not maybe I can tell all your sets are RPE 5 at the max. And we've all seen it, we've all seen it where they're in the gym, they're working out, and let's just say they're not really reaching a very high level of exertion, which inherently per se, that's not a crime. It's not a crime not to go hard in the gym, Nobody's gonna come knocking on your door and say, you had 10 reps left. Put your hands behind your back. But if your actual goal, and you're kind of saying this to yourself, it's like, I'm going to the gym because I want to get results and I want to push myself hard. The benefits, the underlying maybe kind of hidden benefits that you get from becoming proficient in the gym in the long term, I'm talking just getting more comfortable with your own body, you get kind of just from doing anything physical on a consistent basis that requires actual effort and exertion, that's just going to be an overall confidence booster. Now, I'm no psychologist, so I can't necessarily explain in detail why that is, but it definitely is a fucking factor. But all the fucking cool parts of working out and being a lifter, those come in tandem with, your responsibility to actually push yourself. So you can go to the gym on a consistent basis, but if you're not really, putting in effort once you're there, you're just kind of meandering around, I think, at least. So I think that's my finishing point for today. You've always got more in the tank, more intensity, more dedication, more hype. It's always in there. It's just up to you to draw it out. But plan for tomorrow, plan for tonight, get the rest of my meals in, have a good night's rest, cardio in the morning, and then a nasty ass leg day tomorrow. Nasty ass leg day tomorrow. Potentially a nap, honestly, after I get home and eat whatever I end up eating. I'm fucking sleepy. I'm sure you're gonna see an increase in yawns. I'm always yawning when I'm bulking after a workout just because I'm sleepy. I need my rest. So, cardio, legs tomorrow, a reasonable amount of carbs, fats, and proteins in between, and then we're well on track to becoming one step closer to being a real fucking behemoth, a real goddamn muscle monolith. So, I'll see you tomorrow for legs, which, I can't guarantee it, but I'm 90% sure it's going to be a nasty fucking leg day. So I'll see you then. Timed lift. And I know I said I wasn't going to do back day again this back day, because I am going to back off on my back training for this bulk. But I want to do one more back day before I start tapering off. And I wasn't really in the mood to make today just, like forearms only and calves, which I probably will do, because if I'm taking, so here's my logic, right? My back is a bit overdeveloped. Like, and I can really tell, especially in the last, like the final pose down of the dieting phase, flat, carb depleted, decently lean enough to get a good gauge of how I'm looking proportion wise. Back lat spread, killer. Lats are fucking cool, right? But front double bi, you know, side chest needs, well, I want my chest to be bigger, I want my arms to be bigger, I want my legs to be bigger. But my back, I'm like, yeah, fuck you. I got a solid back for my frame. So that's where I'm gonna chill out on my back activation by way of not hitting it every time it kind of comes up in the routine, you know? I've been doing chest, back, no, legs, chest, back, arms, and then legs again. So pretty much hitting everything in 8 days, or hitting everything in 4 days. So a little bit less than twice a week, you know, twice every 8 days, which is about right for me, because I can't, I mean, I could do chest and then 3 days later do chest again, but when it comes to legs, for me to do like heavy squatting and then to try to do heavy squatting again only 2 days afterward, it's just not enough time to recover, you know. So I used to do everything every 3 days, kind of push-pull leg style, right? Except, I would do legs, chest, back, arms, legs, chest, back, arms, like that. But it just wasn't enough time to recover in between lifts. So that's kind of the approach I've been doing for a while. But if I want everything else to grow and my back to kind of stay the same, then all I need to do is take away the stimulus that's inducing fucking growth. So that's going to be less back days, which I'm already kind of on with shoulders. I mean, I haven't done it real, honestly, I can't even remember the last time I did an actual like balls to the wall shoulder day. You know, I'll do some side laterals every so often, but nothing like actually too crazy, because my shoulders are fucking overpowering my arms. You know, I want my arms to kind of catch up. So maybe I'll go through a period of time where I don't do, well, no, I'm not going to completely take back out of the routine, because it plays into every other lift. You know, for me to have like, there's a difference between just having a certain amount of size and being exposed to a certain amount of like weight. You kind of get a certain strength. Like, my chest wouldn't shrink if for the next 2 months I didn't do heavy pressing, but it would weaken. It would weaken to a fucking considerable degree. So since I want to keep my back strong for squats and, you know, hamstring RDLs and just be able to have a good support to push off of for pressing, I'm not going to take back all the way out of the routine like I have shoulders, but I am going to ease back on it. So back is probably only going to be once a week, whereas everything else is going to be twice a week. And then, I've said this a couple times, the day that I don't do back, I'll just make that an accessory day, you know? I've been kind of meaning to throw more forearms into the equation. Not so much like up here, like this top of the forearm, which gets activated from like hammer curls, but like down here, like this part that gets activated from like flexing like that. I gotta, you know, put some more meat on this fucking chicken wing. But plan for back day today, nothing wild, you know, because what is there really wild to do anyway? When it comes to something like chest, for me, I like a reasonably rigid approach that just works pretty well for me, right? Warm up, load up a certain amount of weight gradually, like, you know, if I'm doing incline barbell, bench a plate for a couple reps, then do 2 plates, then do 3 plates, and then whenever I'm ready for my actual working sets, you know, start with that heavy pressing. But with back, I kind of start with whatever, you know? Like, a lot of the times I've actually been starting with lighter squeezing stuff, kind of as a, well, sort of to act as just working sets as well as warming me up. Because for me to start a chest day and immediately start really heavy pressing, like, that feels good. Like, for whatever reason, that feels pretty natural for me. But with back, I kind of liked, or at least I have for the past couple lifts, been liking doing lighter squeezing stuff, even just like single arm pullovers as the first 2 sets, kind of as just a primer for the rest of the workout. Because sure, it's 2 sets of just light lat squeezing movements. Now it's still like, you know, approaching failure at 20 reps or so, but nothing catastrophic to the lats, nothing like a really crazy heavy pull down. But just in doing so, the heavier stuff that I end up doing later just feels better. If you're curious why I haven't been doing any bent over barbell rows, for one thing, I take them out of the. I usually take those out of back training when I'm dieting down anyway, just because they are a pretty taxing fucking movement. You know, not only am because with a chest supported row, the only thing that's really getting worked is my back. I don't have to stabilize. I don't have to keep myself from falling forward or anything. It's just all back, right? But with bent over barbell rows, you know, my glutes are firing and my hamstrings, my quad. Apologies. But no, with so with really heavy barbell rows, I'm working my quads some, not like the same work as the leg extension, but they're getting worked. My hamstrings are firing, my calves are firing, my glutes are firing, my lower back is firing because I literally have to hold all of that weight through my lower back. And then, you know, it's just pretty fucking taxing movement. So in my mind, if I do, let's just say the stimulus that I get from 2 sets of really heavy bent over barbell rows compared to the fatigue that I get from those 2 sets, you know, it kind of makes me lean towards doing more isolative stuff like pull downs or, you know, even just seated cable rows. Because even though that's still heavy, it's not the same level of fucking like overall taxation and exertion, you know. So there are movements where, you know, if you say stimulus to fatigue ratio, my ears are going to perk up. That's why I don't do any deadlifts. The amount of actual like direct lat, mid trap, and back activation, like it's up there. I'm not going to say it's not. Like if you were to sit at the gym and do like 4 sets of really heavy, like 10 rep sets of deadlifts, yeah, your back's probably going to be cooked. But more than likely, your glutes are going to be going crazy. Your hamstrings are going to be going crazy. You're going to be fucking dying out of breath. Whereas if you spend that same amount of energy doing like pull downs or chest supported rows and things of that nature, I feel like you'll get more direct back work. So if my goal is to come into the gym, spend all my, you know, utilizable energy thrashing my back, then I don't want to waste it on anything else, you know. Not to knock deadlifts, but just, you know, the movements that you're doing, they kind of have to match your goals, right? Now, if you want to do a big deadlift because it's fucking cool, I'm not gonna knock you for it. Fuck, man, hit it. But just know you're spending a lot of energy for those sets. Whereas if your goal is just overall back stimulus, if you want a big back, I might be more inclined to tell you to sit down in the lat pull down and go crazy for a few sets instead of, you know, really pushing it deadlift wise. But I've been there. My when I started working out, this is getting into some of the origin story. This was my first year, basically. I knew the strength and conditioning coach in high school, because that's a class, you know, you actually go to the class, the guy gives you workout routines to do. It's a whole, like, they give you a whole program for the whole year. But that perfectly coincided with one of my study halls at the end of the day. And I was right basically 1 floor above the weight room. So for my study hall, I got to go down to the weight room. You know, I fucking knew the guy, so he lets me come down and just lift on my own. But as a year 1 lifter, you know, I wasn't doing my perfect, well, not perfect, but I wasn't doing my 8 set, you know, high intensity lat days. You know, I was, I'd have some days where that day was just trying to max out my deadlift, which maybe not my most productive way to spend my time as a beginner, but didn't hurt myself. So if you're curious what my deadlift PR is, it's 405. 405 is the heaviest I've ever deadlifted. I tried 455. I had straps too. I had somebody give me straps, but I got it up to my shins, couldn't get it again, dropped it, never deadlifted again. I just stopped at that point. So ever since then, yeah, deadlifts have been off the menu, which in a back only stimulating context is perfectly fucking fine with me. So let's just get started. Pump back up. Honestly, shouldn't even take too many sets, you know, like, well, I'll kind of know once I'm in there. So let's just get started with everything. There we go. I've learned my lesson. I don't forget to turn the mic on. We're getting professional up in here. But no, what I was going to say was, that is a nasty ass fucking rear lat spread. Oh my goodness. You know, there's something which that's kind of a weird way to go back. But so my lats, my lower deep lats, like where it's closer to the middle of my back, not necessarily where it kind of sweeps out on the sides, that is extra developed. You know, so that's why in that one lat spread, there's almost like a separation between like the lats you can kind of see spreading out and like my lower back, if you can kind of imagine what I'm talking about there. So, but what I was going to say was too, as much as having an awesome fucking back pump is cool, and it totally is, it's not necessarily conducive to really good back posing. You know, like when my back is fully pumped, I actually can't even really spread it as wide as normal, because, you know, with something like chest, when I have a chest pump, every chest pose is extra cool because my chest is just physically bigger, right? It's just fucking beefier, like, you know, it's inflated. But with back, when it's fully pumped, my whole back gets a bit tenser, which happens to all muscles. You know, if you've ever had a serious quad pump and then you try to squat down, your quads are literally going to fight you because they're so like tense now that to even bend them and stretch them, it's a bit more difficult. So when my back is fully pumped up, cool as it may be, it's trickier for me to really open up in a back lat spread. So that's where, you know, if you're up on a bodybuilding stage, maybe you're not going to fully pump up your back in your, you know, few minutes prior to stepping on stage. That's where you're going to kind of focus on keeping it nice and loose, so when you do a lat spread, you can actually really open it up all the way, if you catch my drift there. But don't, let's be real, don't take that as me complaining about a fucking badass back pump, right? That's an observation. You know, that is not a gripe. No chance. But yeah, so back is gonna be able to take some time off. So back days may kind of be slightly converted into some of my active rest days. Like, I'm still going to do some back, of course, but, you know, I might just do only, I mean, fuck, I might just make my back days like 2 sets or something, just to get some stimulation, but nothing too crazy, you know. But I definitely do want to get some more direct forearm work consistently in the routine, because there's something to be said about having some beefy ass fucking forearms. And I can already feel it now. I mean, even just from, because you gotta remember, I just gained 10 pounds of intramuscular fucking water. Now that's glycogen, so water and carbs. That's kind of what makes up your fucking fullness in your muscles per se. But that is a fucking lot of fluids. And even just having the initial kind of refeed, I guess that's the only word for it, kind of refeed, rehydration in a sense, I can feel that my fucking forearms are already bigger just looking at them. But I kind of want this bottom part to be, I mean, I could never say Lee Priest-esque, you know, the goddamn king of forearms, but I do want mine to be a bit bigger. It just makes you look cool too, you know. So I think some direct forearm work is gonna come into play. So when it comes to rest days and just your training intensity in general, these are the only comments that turn my stomach around. These are the only comments that kind of irk me a bit. And it's the comments that say, well, you're not going to be able to recover if you train that hard. Dude, the natural guy cannot recover if you really train to failure for a whole workout. You're not going to be able to recover from that. What are you fucking talking about, dude? You know, that's like, you're just setting yourself up for fucking failure before you've even gone to the gym, you know? Because I think 99% of the times that I see that comment perpetuated, where it's like, you can't train this hard, you're not going to be able to recover from this, it's not coming from people who have actually trained like as hard as they fucking could and then couldn't recover. It's just people kind of repeating the same jargon that they hear over and over again. You know, if you actually take a week and you seriously lock in, and every lift that you do, you push it to your absolute fucking max of intensity. And I'm not talking about weights. You know, I could go in tomorrow for my arm day and only do like single arm push downs, light squeezing, and like 40-pound dumbbell curls. And I could make those sets fucking crazy intense. You know, it's not about the weight, it's just about the intensity of the sets. But if you took a week and you seriously trained as hard as you could, and then you said, dude, I'm not gonna be able to fucking recover from this, then that's a different story, you know? The whole point of lifting, because I think it's a little bit unfortunate, but there is kind of a grace period before you're actually used to the stimulus of working out. You know, I was a bit of so when I was lifting in the beginning and I was doing my 25 set workouts, way too much volume, I would bring my brother in a few times and I'd have him do the same workouts I was doing. And I was doing way too much fucking volume, but I was kind of used to it, so I could still, you know, do that day in, day out. But he had never really worked out like that before, and I had him do like a full, massive, like 25 set chest day. In hindsight, I don't know what I was thinking, but whatever. It killed him, you know, because for anybody to have gone from zero training, no weight training, to a hard day of, like a hard chest day or a hard back day, or definitely an actually hard leg day if you push yourself, that's going to be a massive fucking stress in your body, which you're not used to. Now, I say stress, but, you know, not like sickness, but you've done some damage and your body now has to kick it into overdrive and start to recover. But yeah, if you're a beginner, you know, you don't have to fucking make sure every set is nose bleeding, screams, maximum exertion. But once you've been lifting for a few months, you're used to it now. You know, you no longer feel like crippled, sore. Because yeah, if you've never lifted before and you have a really good hard chest day as a real beginner, yeah, that's gonna fucking hit you like a fucking bus. If you do push, pull, legs, like if you're a total newbie and you have one of your buddies who works out, takes you through 3 days of push, pull, legs, yeah, that's probably gonna take a while to fucking recover from. But once you've recovered from it and you're ready to do it again, your recovery period probably just got cut in fucking half, you know, because your body is going to adapt to this new stimulus. It always does. That's the reason why, you know, what we call kind of newbie gains are so sort of, let's just say, prevalent as a beginner, is the fact that you're not used to this stimulus at all. It's completely new to you. So it's going to be the most fucking stimulating. So yeah, as a beginner, of course, I still think lift hard, rest until you're recovered, and then come back and do it again. But the idea that you should limit your intensity of the workout before you've even seen what you can actually handle seems so fucking silly to me, man. I mean, it's you're trying to fucking, you're cutting off your potential before you even start, you know? In no way have I ever, even as a fucking beginner natural guy, in no way have I ever thought to myself, oh, I should probably go easy because I'm not going to be able to recover from this well. Dude, that is a fucking, that is a lame mentality. That is a lame mentality, right? In my mind, what I would recommend is, if you're going to do whatever, you know, routine, push, pull, legs, Arnold split style, whatever, you've got your week-long split, hit every muscle group twice a week. That's pretty much the basic guideline that I would say is a good approach. And you can do it in all sorts of different ways. If you wanted to do hamstrings and triceps, quads and biceps, whatever. As long as you're hitting everything twice a week, I think that's totally fucking fine. But I think it's a flawed mentality to limit your intensity because you don't know what you can recover from. And just saying like, well, I don't think I'm not going to be able to recover without even trying. Oh, come on, right? So you have to remember the actual workout, you in the gym doing these working sets for your hour, 30 minutes, whatever. I mean, today's back day for me was only 30 minutes just because it was not that much volume. But for that period of time that you're in the gym, that's the only fucking variable that's going to stimulate your body to say, dude, I got to start fucking depositing some new protein onto my lats. They just got hit hard, man. They got to be able to come back bigger and stronger. So if you don't give yourself a stress that's adequate enough to actually stimulate a recovery response, then nothing's going to happen. You're not going to get bigger. You're not going to get stronger, and then you're just going to keep lifting the same 150 pounds on the lat pull down for 10 reps, racking it before you've even come close to failure, and you're not going to see any results. For the most part, I think the primary limiter of people's gains is going to be their diet. Not being able to eat enough food to facilitate weight gain. Right? That's a pretty big fucking factor. But as time progresses, if your diet is on point, but your training isn't the most fucking intense and stimulating, then even if you've got enough calories to fucking gain weight, you're not really going to see the best results either, So it's kind of the fucking trifecta of gains. You're eating, you're sleeping, and you're training. So you want those all to be fucking in sync, man. I'm talking like I don't know what you're talking about. This is the real 3-body problem, right? Maximizing your training intensity, your sleep quality, and depending on if you're trying to bulk up or diet down, your calorie intake. Now this has its own details, of course, but that's the basic. Why do you think so many shirts of guys in the gyms from every fucking gym probably has somebody eat, sleep, train, repeat? Those are the basics, man. If you train hard and you eat hard, well, if you're training hard and you're eating hard, then you're probably just going to need to go to sleep, But if those 3 things are in tune, then you're good to go, man. I say go as hard as you fucking can, and for the most part, that might not even be as hard as you can go. Your body doesn't necessarily want. My body probably doesn't want me to squat 5 plates on the Smith machine until I feel like I'm going to pass out. I think it would rather just sit and chill, so it's always going to be fighting against you, the pain and the discomfort of pushing yourself hard in a working set, that's always going to be a factor which is going to keep you from going too hard, right? If you were to somehow connect somebody's quad with like electro, neuron stimulating needles or whatever, so that you could like manually flex their quad with a computer and take it to absolute failure on like a leg extension, the dude could probably get an extra 10 reps. Like the guy's muscle is physically capable of getting 10 reps beyond failure what the guy could actually do with his own brain power, because your body's like, dude, stop doing this shit. Right now you're pumping out lactic acid, you're getting deoxygenated. Oh, we can't keep doing this, So what that tells me is, as hard as I can even go, as hard as I can push myself, I can always go harder. The sets, you can always do more. It gets a little trickier with or it gets a little bit more clear cut with your basic like heavy compound movements. If I do like a crazy heavy squat and I barely make that last rep, I barely make it, I guess I'd be curious to see, but I really don't think I'd be able to get another rep, no matter what sort of motivation or chemical fucking, or not chemical, but like electrical stimulate. Like I don't think my quads would be capable of doing another one. Whereas with things like side laterals or light squeezing leg extensions, or the only thing that's stopping me from doing more reps is like, oh fuck, dude, this burns. That's where I think, as hard as you can go, you're gonna be able to recover from it, But that's something that I would want you to find out for yourself. And the same goes with everything. Honestly, experience is the greatest fucking teacher of all. So if you just listen to somebody and they're talking about whatever, they're saying this and that about your training and like what works and what doesn't and what's going to feel good and what's going to feel, those are just words, right? Those are just words, whatever. For you to actually go through the process of trying things out in your own training, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, getting your own results, coming to your own conclusions, that's where the real fucking enlightened lifter is born, Because who cares what anybody else says? If you're making gains, if the movements that you're doing are stimulating the muscle that you're aiming for, you're taking yourself pretty close to fucking failure, or you at least know that you're training intensely. You're going hard for real, and you're not lying to yourself about it, and you're growing. Dude, that's fucking perfect, man, That's what every fucking lifter is looking for. apart from the guys who are satisfied with where they're at and they're just maintaining their build, if you're looking for progress and you're getting it, A fucking plus, man, right? Keep going. And odds are, once you've gotten into the lifting for at least 2 years or so, no, that's not, I don't even want to make it sound like there's a barrier. Once you've lifted for a while and you've got a pretty good grasp of what you're doing and you like it, it's just a fucking upward spiral from there, because you're constantly going to be thinking about it, and you're going to be listening to dudes, and you're going to come to the gym and see someone do a certain kind of movement, or you're going to see somebody do a certain superset of like machine press into dumbbell flies or whatever. And just by being in the space, both when you're in the gym and when you're fucking at home, because your phone is always showing you fitness stuff, you're just going to gradually get more and more knowledgeable about it, you know. So don't stress it if you don't feel like you have all the answers yet. Half the shit just kind of comes to you passively, you know. So don't stress too hard, right? The only thing that I think really separates guys who make serious long-term gains and the guys who don't are the ones who train the hardest and go consistently. So that's my finishing statement there. But plan tomorrow, an egregiously pumped arm day, 30 minutes of cardio in the morning, of course. I might have to bring you along for that just to really show it to you. I feel like I'm trying to do mind control, you know. The more often that you say something, and the more often that somebody hears the same kind of phrase said over and over again, eventually it just sticks, you know. So 30 minutes cardio, very good. It's no need to get any deeper into it than that right now. But I'll see you tomorrow for arms. Nasty back day. We're one step closer to 280 again, damn it. Not that so I don't have a specific number goal. Right? This bulking phase, I just want to get as heavy as I can with a consistent rate of growth. You know, if I hit 270 and I'm eating 6,000 calories in like 4 months, and I can't break 270 for like a month and a half, then that's just as much as I'm going to be able to grow to. And I'm going to be able to say, I did as much as I could, I got my diet reasonably on point, let's diet down and repeat. Or let's diet down and get into prep for show number 1. Ooh. Nothing solidified there yet. That's TBD. That's TBD, but that is the plan. So keep your ears open. I'll update you as soon as there's anything to update you with. But I think that's all I got. So I'll see you tomorrow. Before we actually get into the chat about today's chest day, the likes of which I know is going to be a pump probably beyond any previous, to the point that I actually kind of made it a point to wear an extra like stretchy shirt. I'm not big enough yet to where I'm worried about ripping my shirts, especially like the 3XL cotton ones. But I do not want that to seem like it's out of the realm of possibility. You know, merely a matter of time. Merely a matter of time. But no, so even though contractually, you know, me and Hostile were kind of starting to go our separate ways, there is still some Sam Sulek product that we've kind of got to get off the shelves. So that's going to be the Hostility Foundation, some of the Blue Shark gummy, and the oh crap, how am I forgetting the name of it now? Oh, and the cotton candy. So I still get my kickback from those, but this is probably the only time that someone will say, while supplies last, because there's not going to be any more reorders. So as long as that's in stock, there'll still be some Sam pre-workout for probably only a few more weeks, based on how quick it's going to actually get sort of sold off. But there's going to be a Sam pre-workout hiatus for a few months. But keep your ears open. There's going to be something or other eventually. A lot of things to be ironed out first. But no, plan for chest day. I'm talking incline. I don't know. I'm not totally sure. Probably incline Smith machine. But it's kind of whatever feels good, you know. Right now, I'm lucky enough, or maybe luck isn't even the right word, responsible enough to the point where my shoulders feel good, My chest feels good, my elbows feel good. So I kind of get the pick of the litter. You know, I can do whatever pressing movement I really feel like. Whereas sometimes, and I know some guys specifically, where they'll tell me like, yeah, I can't do any incline pressing right now because my rotator cuff is this, or my elbow is, you know. So if you're kind of fit and healthy and you can actually do any pressing movement that gets thrown in front of you heavy, then, you know, just try to change it up every so often. I did incline barbell to start my last chest day, so maybe I want to change it up and start with incline Smith today, or maybe machine chest press. You know, it's kind of whatever. But I know that the workout is going to start with a few heavy sets of pressing, and after probably 3 or 4 sets of heavy pressing, and that could be a few different movements, then my chest day gets very broad. You know, like before the chest day starts and I'm just warming up and I'm trying to decide which movements to start on, I've pretty much only got like 3 or maybe 4 choices. You know, incline dumbbell, barbell, Smith, machine press. And then once I've finished those kind of main sets, I can really kind of branch out the workout any way that I want. Because maybe I could do 4 sets of heavy pressing and then finish off with just all like cable fly squeezing work. Or I could just keep doing more pressing, or I could do a combination of the two and do like pressing supersetted into flies. You know, it's kind of whatever, you know, tickles my fancy. But as long as the sets that you do are intense and you're actually pushing yourself as hard as you fucking can, then I wouldn't even stress it too much, you know? In general, definitely a good rule to change up your training. You know, don't just do the same chest day over and over again. Oh my god. Haven't drank my pre yet. It's kind of this gym's a little bit further away, so I usually drink it halfway down the drive. But yeah, don't do the exact same chest day on repeat for months on end, because as much as I'm not one to say like, you know, you have to do different exercises every time or the workout won't work, it is going to kind of get a little bit stale. And there definitely is some validity to the idea that your body is going to get used to certain movements. So let's say your flat bench is really strong and your incline is really weak. Maybe try to do some more incline work, you know, because clearly your sort of upper chest chain of pressing fibers or whatever, if you get what I'm saying, it's just underdeveloped. So that's where it's a little bit tricky on your ego to work on your weak points, because in a lifting context, typically your weak points are just muscles which you're not lifting as heavy on, right? So depending on how much you love lifting heavy, that could give you a little bit of a hit to the family jewels, or that's not right now. Hit to your pride. That's what I mean to say. But you know, change it up. And I really can't stress the fact that the intensity is what's going to really make up the quality of your workout. So that's where, apart from safety, if I'm doing incline barbell bench, I'm getting a spotter at least on the first few sets. Probably just all of them. No, probably just all of them, just because if I'm actually going to take a set to failure and it's with an incline barbell or a regular barbell, whatever, then that means I'm not going to be able to re-rack it, you know? So if you do a set and you don't need assistance on that last rep, I kind of feel like that means you had a little bit left in the tank and you're never really going to know, you know? Like yesterday's leg day, where I did 2 sets of Smith machine squats. The first set, I re-racked the weight after rep number 10, and I think I totally could have done 12. Just looking at it, you know, with hindsight, I totally could have done 12. And the next set, I did 10 reps again, except this time, on the 10th rep, I failed halfway up. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I can't control myself. I gotta get the caffeine flowing in my system. But the set where I took it to complete failure, where I physically could not finish the rep, that's where I think the sweet spot is. So not every set that I do is to complete muscular failure. You know, if you watch some of my leg days, I'm doing sets of leg extensions where I'm doing like 5 reps on the right leg, 5 on the left, back and forth like that. Like I don't hit complete muscular failure per se. So don't make it seem like every set has to be a life and death experience. But you have a pretty good gauge of just how intense and how much energy you're actually bringing to your working sets. And assuming you've got some fucking balls, you should be trying to go as hard as you can, you know? And that's something that's also going to come with time and experience, you know? Like for me to try to do a set of dumbbell curls as hard as I can as a beginner, let's say I'm capable of 20 reps. Like if you connected my brain to like a fucking computer to control me Frankenstein style, my biceps could do 20 reps of curls before they actually gave out and couldn't do any more. As a beginner, I might only be able to get 10 reps. And that's where my brain is signaling, like, dude, you can't handle this. You gotta stop. You can't, like, cut it off. Right? Now, I still tried my hardest, but I've always got more, reps left in the tank. So that's where getting some assisted reps is gonna help you too. But now, if I have a weight where I think I could physically do 20 reps, I've lifted for so long and I'm so experienced actually trying to push myself to complete failure and beyond, that now I think I could get upwards of like maybe 16, 17 reps before I have to put it down and be like, I can't get any more. So even now, after all these years of experience and trying to really I'm really just training to fucking hit failure in most of my sets. Even now, I know I've always got more in the tank, and to have that mentality about it, which I think is the right mentality, it's going to let you keep going harder, because you know that you've always got somewhere to go to. You've always got more intensity to bring, right? You've always got harder and better reps to try to force out. And it's, you kind of have a mentality of like, it's never enough, in a good way. Whereas, somebody who's kind of, I don't want to say delusional, but somebody who's a bit more, let's say maybe self-centered, and they're like, dude, I take every set to failure, bro. I go as hard as possible. And then I watch the guy do a set, and it's like RPE 4. RPE means rate of perceived exertion, and it's a grading scale from 0 to 10. 10 being as hard as you can go, 0 being zero effort, like sitting on the couch. Right? There's guys out there, and I really hope it's not you. It's probably not you, but there's guys where they think, or at least they say, like, dude, I train hard. I really fucking train hard, bro. Like, for real. You wouldn't want to do my leg day. And then the leg day is like all sets of RPE 6, maybe. It's not let's just say that's not ideal, right? But as long as you're pushing hard and you know it, and you're trying to push yourself harder continuously over time, then that's kind of what I kind of want to see, So if I could see anything change year to year in terms of the lifting community, I would love to I'd love to see everybody do their cardio. I'd love to see everybody track their macros, but I'd also love to see everybody really fucking push it, Now, I'm not necessarily talking about like the 90-year-old woman who's at the YMCA that you go to. That's a different situation. But if you're a spry kind of youngin', or even anybody, you know that you've got the capability to really fucking push yourself hard in a safe manner, I think you've got to do it, Because the benefits and the actual like fucking positives that you're getting from exertion in the gym are caused by the stress that you're giving yourself by pushing yourself that hard, So if you don't induce a reasonable stress on your body from the training, there's no reason to expect that you're going to get any result, because you've got nothing to adapt to, So that's sort of my logic there. The harder, the better. Boom. But let's get started. I'll probably just cut straight to the first working set, because it's 5:30. I'm sure the gym's going to be pretty busy. Sometimes I don't record all the warm-ups. I'll explain though. I'll explain once we're on there. And we're off. Chest fully stimulated, and now my only main concern is to go home and chow down. I should have, if I was being a little bit smarter, I should have put some steaks into the sous vide before I even came to the gym, so that they'd be ready to be seared when I got home. But no matter. No serious matter. I'll just end up doing some ground beef first. I've kind of been on the same fucking breakfast kick for the last few days. It's only been, I mean, this is only day 5 of, bulking, but I think that that's going to be good for me to get just a touch more consistent with it. So plan for the breakfast, at least as far as the next few months goes, is probably just going to be fucking eggs and hot cereal. Either what I've been doing, like 4 or 5 packs of the instant, like, Quaker Oats, or I got some cream of wheat. You are missing out if you haven't done cream of wheat, frozen blueberries, and then some just a touch of brown sugar. I mean, that is fucking perfect. But around 50 grams of protein, that's kind of my staple for each meal. And then, if I'm aiming for 50 per meal, then that kind of puts me at about 5 meals per day-ish. So I don't need 5,000 calorie meals per day yet. I'm not trying to max out the calorie intake. But for these first few weeks, 3.5 ended up being a little low. I'm going to stick to about 3.5, 4,000 or so. And then once I start to feel like, eating 3,500, 4,000 per day, and I'm fully carved up is no longer an issue, then, up it. So instead of 4,000, make it 4,500. Then after another few weeks, or maybe a month or so, go from 4,500 to 5,000. 5,000 to maybe 5,300. 5,500 and above gets pretty tricky on a day-by-day basis in the long term. So in my mind, what that's telling me is I want to really maximize my gains and my poundage with 4,000, 3,500 calories that I'm working with now, because that's easy to get down. This morning was 245, so I think that initial 6-pound jump is getting close to about as much as I'm gonna gain in terms of just filling up, like that initial sort of refeed weight, which is not muscle or fat, it's just intramuscular, carbs and water. So I think from here on out it should be a steady, well, I'm probably not fully carved up yet. I'm sure I'll probably balance out at about maybe 247, 248 perhaps, and then it'll be a steady pound and a half-ish per week. So if I can gain a pound and a half a week on 3,500 calories, then that's what I want to do. And as soon as that weight gain starts to slow down, that's my indicator, okay, I need to eat more food. Because that's everybody's indicator. If you're not gaining any weight, if you're no longer changing the scale and putting on muscle, then odds are, assuming you're training reasonably intensely, the issue is your calorie intake, man, And I can say that with a pretty high degree of certainty. Now, as you continue to bulk, it's going to become more prudent that you get every detail related to the training and the progress, let's just say on point, right? I could be eating, 5,500 calories per day in about 3 months, but if I'm not getting enough sleep, then I'm not really going to end up actually utilizing those calories for gains, because I won't be giving myself enough time and energy to actually recover. So if you're trying to bulk up and you've actually been bulking pretty well and you've been eating a lot of food, but suddenly your weight has plateaued, not getting enough sleep can be a pretty major factor. And I mean, anything that's going to limit your gains, anything that is legitimately going to limit your ability to recover and come back again stronger, I mean, that's the whole point of bulking or making any sort of actual lifting kind of progress, then if that's your shit, if that's what you want to prioritize, then anything that messes with that, you've kind of got to put it on the back burner, So that's not to say fucking don't go out with your friends or whatever else, but if you know that in a couple of years you may not be so, you may not look back so fondly at all the time you spent goofing off, and you might kind of wish you locked in a little bit more, then that's on you, right? You have to live with the rest of your life, and vice versa. You have to live with how you lived before. So that's where being able to kind of understand the idea of delayed gratification and doing things for yourself in the future, right? Setting yourself up to have a better, a better time later, then, I think it's worth it. So if I'm feeling a little, well, I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm an anomaly, because I don't, I feel like I'm such a gains nut that, not going out and getting all my meals in and staying home to train and everything else. Like, that's kind of the fun part, so I don't have so many, let's just say, internal distractions that I have to like fight against. I almost feel like being locked in is my baseline state of being, and anything else is just kind of like, I don't know, not second nature by any means. But yeah, so these first few weeks, calorie intake wise, absolutely no problem. Not trying to curb the amount of treats I'm consuming, really trying to make sure that most of my calories are just coming from fucking oats, wheats. I tell you what, there's a special place in my heart for cinnamon raisin bread. That's definitely going to be consumed on a pretty damn regular basis. I need to get some of that for sure. And then, maybe just try my best not to have too many Krispy Kremes. And my logic there is, it's just stressing out my fucking system, I'm going to be able to eat more food for longer, eating kind of plain, less internally taxing foods. So it's not necessarily health motivated, it's gains motivated. But usually the two kind of, coincide. Like, I would recommend for everybody, do some solid weight training, do your cardio, start tracking your macros, get a good amount of protein in, drink enough water and electrolytes per day that you're fully hydrated. I mean, these are all, you're going to live a better life if you've got all that shit down. But my logic isn't necessarily for general well-being of walking around during the day. I'm kind of gains motivated. But the fact that the two kind of go hand in hand, it just makes it pretty easy for me to really get into it. So, plan for tomorrow, solid back day. But beforehand, right in the morning, wake up, drink a fucking, energy drink, plus a couple packets of electrolyte mix. Guess what I've got 30 minutes of, right? You know what it is. You already freaking know what it is. But I don't need to say it. You know. So let's just keep this fucking scale moving, and I'll see you tomorrow for back. There isn't too much pollen out in the world anymore. We're getting into full-fledged, just summer sun, heat, and that's pretty much the fucking gist of it. That's nice for me. I've been blowing my nose like a fucking animal for the past like 4 weeks, and I'm glad to finally be able to breathe out of my fucking nasal cavity. That's something I'm kind of interested in. I've tried them before. The nose strips, sort of it's like this adhesive kind of plasticky elastic thing you stick in your nose, and it basically opens you up. I definitely need to start sleeping with one of those on for sure. Maybe even training with them. That's get some more oxygen without so much load to actually, manage. We've all been there. We've all had a fucking stuffy nose and you're doing legs. Not awesome. Not particularly ideal. But I'm not highlighting that that's happening right now. I'm just saying it's just something that's off my plate, per se. But actually getting into the training for today, 30 minutes of cardio done. And look, I can understand when you're dieting down and you're in a deficit and you're actually depleted, you're legit making fat loss progress. 30 minutes of cardio can be kind of tricky because you're on low energy mode. You're on low fucking energy mode, like you're tired, you're not as like amped up for your training. So fed cardio on a bulk, it is so fucking easy. I mean, I'm burning the same 300 calories per hour like I was before. Or no, 300 calories every half hour. Sit on the seat of the bike for 30 minutes, pedal at like level 10 difficulty. I think 90-ish RPM. That ends up adding up to 300. What the machine says is 300 calories an hour, or every half hour. which, whatever. As long I want you to break a sweat 15 minutes deep and then maintain that sweat for another 15 minutes. That's about right, in my opinion. Get your heart rate up in the 140s, consistent. But, dude, the cardio when you're bulking, it's so easy, it's not even a fucking chore. Like, I'm not even, because I've got so much extra energy now that I'm eating excess calories. Like, all I have to do is do it. So, I could maybe understand why you're skipping your cardio, because you're like, oh well, it's hard. If you're bulking, even if you're just eating in maintenance, 30 minutes of 30 minutes of cardio, that's not that tricky, man. And I say that like I'm ripping on you, because I'm trying to make you listen. This is me talking to anybody who's not doing their cardio on a consistent basis. But I promise you're going to see better gains and results in the long term if you've got your cardio down pat. Because it's going to play into fucking everything else, Like if you're, what's a good way to fucking describe this? Right? Let's say gains, the process of making gains is like you're trying to push a massive fucking stone across the ground, right? If your sleep is totally shit, you're not drinking enough water, you're not eating enough protein, you're literally just not eating enough food, and you're not doing your cardio, then that analogy would look something like trying to push a massive, like, square stone. You're not gonna be able to fucking push that thing, But as soon as you get your sleep in order, that stone starts to get a little bit rounder. As soon as you get your calories in, you're actually eating a consistent, gram per pound of body weight of protein, that stone's getting even rounder. You're taking all your pre-workout, everything, you're training hard, it's getting rounder, it's getting rounder. You start adding your cardio, now you're just pushing a massive fucking marble ball. It's going to push like nothing, So if you can get everything outside of the actual training in order, then, let's just say this, your rate of progress should begin to astonish you. Right? So that's all I'm saying there. I'll finish my cardio rant. Do your cardio. You're going to enjoy having done it. Now, it takes a little while to see the results. That's kind of the downside. You don't just do 30 minutes of cardio and then you're suddenly Mr. Olympia. But it will help. And I say that with my full chest. So, plan for today with arms, triceps, biceps, and then I'm gonna add some direct forearm work in, but not today, because I'm thinking that I'm only gonna do back, my back day lift every other sort of, loop in the workout split. So that's gonna leave me with an extra day. I think I might just make that forearms and like calves, or just, really whatever sort of accessory work I want to do. So in a way, I'm going to have a lighter day kind of planned, but I think I'll just replace one of my back days with some forearms and whatever else. But for today, the drill. I'm talking heavy push downs, I'm talking heavy single arm push downs, heavy machine dips, some rope squeezing stuff, maybe not some skull crushers yet. I'm a skull crusher fan, but I feel like it's something to be taken, with its flaws. Heavy skull crushers are very, let's just say they put an interesting torque on your elbows to the point where I'm not going to be slamming like 5 sets of really heavy skull crushers every workout. I'm just wrenching my fucking tendons. So that's where, I like a straight up kind of normal push down, just because it's a much more natural kind of movement path. And my elbows like it, which is not something to be disregarded. If your elbows feel really good doing rope push downs, rope extensions, but they really fucking like doing any kind of machine dip really hurts your elbows, like right here, this kind of rounder part of the end of it is just like on fire, then yeah, maybe don't do that. It's a pretty awesome system how if you're doing anything that's basically hurting you, you get an immediate signal like, dude, don't do that. What the fuck, man? So that's where you can be a little bit picky with your machines and your movements, because what ends up feeling good for you. So it's a pretty obvious feeling when something does not work. It's a little bit less obvious when something's really working. That's where you've got to have the presence of mind as a lifter to say, whoa, I can seriously feel my entire long head of my tricep contracting when I do this sort of kneeling push down.
So, keep your eyes open. Make sure you're really kind of in tune with whatever muscle you're training. And then eventually you'll kind of get your own little repertoire of go-to movements. Like, I try to do a lot. I try to change it up, do different kinds of D handles, overhand, underhand, single arm, rope, but I definitely go back to a couple staples more often than not, just because I know they're going to work for me. For arms, that's going to be straight up, either straight bar pushdowns or kind of the easy bar kind of pushdowns. Real heavy, nothing fancy there, just pretty classic. I like single arm D handle pushdowns. I like the machine dip, and then I like some underhand, 2D handle kind of extensions. Right? That's a pretty good example of a couple classics. And then same thing with biceps. Alternating dumbbell curls, probably my favorite, just because it's perfect, man. Right? If you're trying to fucking hit a nail into a piece of wood, you can use all sorts of shit, but a hammer is going to do the job pretty well. So the alternating dumbbell curl, I think, is pretty much my bread and butter. But I still love doing like seated concentration curls and preachers and cable, and like machine curls where the movement path is totally locked. It's just whatever I know is going to let me really load a considerable amount of weight into the targeted muscle, bicep, tricep, chest, whatever, and then be able to bring it, make it a hard set, and fucking see the results that come afterwards. So I think I'm not gonna do a ton of alternating arm days now, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of arm workouts where it's like one set of pushdowns, one set of curls, or maybe like 3 sets of triceps, then 3 sets of biceps, back and forth like that. I like that when I'm dieting, just because I'm not getting so physically pumped, because I'm flat, I'm carb depleted. But now that I'm bulking up, I'm not even really peak fullness yet. This morning I was 243, so that's about 4 pounds since the beginning of this kind of bulking phase, which it's a pretty stable kind of increase in intramuscular carbs, water, glycogen, everything. But even with just 4 pounds of extra kind of fluids floating around in my system, I'm going to be able to fucking feel it, So half the reason why I'm not going to do tricep set, bicep set, back and forth like that, is I'm going to be too pumped. I know that's something that's strange to hear from my mouth. That's fucking ludicrous. Sam, what are you talking about? You can never be too pumped. But let me explain. What'll happen is, if I'm doing a supersetting kind of arm day, if my triceps are fully pumped, it's going to kind of limit my fucking range of motion on my bicep curls, because I'm now fighting against the internal tension my triceps have behind me. And then same thing with pushdowns, almost in 2 ways, because if I've got a crazy bicep pump and I'm doing heavy tricep pushdowns, for one thing, it's going to be a lot harder for me to fully extend, because my biceps are now trying to keep my arm from getting completely straight. But when my biceps are fully pumped, what'll happen is, when I get to the top kind of stretch position of a pushdown, my forearm kind of runs into my fucking bicep and it sort of takes the tension off, which I'm not saying that's an inherently bad thing, right? It just kind of changes the strength curve of the movement. But when I'm bulking up, I'm much more prone to take let's just call it a simpler approach. Totally wreck triceps, and once they're done, once they're fully cooked, change gears, start throwing some hard balls, some curves, some fastballs of biceps, and really fucking thrash them until completion. So nothing too fancy there. I definitely feel carbed up. I've had about 300 grams of carbs so far, 120 grams of fats, and 80 grams of protein from a variety of sources. Breakfast this morning was 25 grams worth of egg whites out of a carton, 4 whole eggs, and then 4 packs of instant Ben's oatmeal, or Ben's Original. No, that's the rice. I can't remember. Like the Quaker's like flavored oats did the peaches and cream. So this morning's breakfast was 100 grams of carbs there. I think there's like 4 grams of sugar, which is kind of what I'm looking for. Like, I want to overload my carb intake, but not do too many sweets, just because I do know it's kind of stressing my system out a little bit, or maybe not even a little bit, kind of a lot of bit. So I want to see what happens when I chill out on the sugar intake. and really kind of maximize more slower digesting carbs. But 50 grams of protein, about 25 grams of fats, and then 100 grams of carbs. That was a perfect fucking breakfast for me. I'll probably just end up recreating that as this bulk progresses. You know, if you find something that works, why change it? But I foresee in my mind's eye. There we go. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling the fucking bulk now. It's kind of been a while. I'm used to dieting. I mean, shit, I think this is the longest cutting period I've ever had. It was like 2.5 months. But yeah, there is something special about leaving the gym after a full of carbs pump, because I'm fucking still kind of like swollen and inflated from it, which is fucking a-okay with me. Honestly, the more time I spend pumped, the better. But plan now, probably go home, I was considering just stopping at the Chipotle, but for me to get enough like steak in the kind of steak tacos that I like, it's kind of not even worth it. I'll just go home and make a steak with some rice and put some cheese on it, then it's the same shit, you know. That's one thing I'll do when I diet down, is I end up I didn't do it a ton this cutting phase, but historically I have actually meal prepped a little bit before and made like 20 individually wrapped, essentially what my Subway order is. Talking turkey, mustard, mayonnaise, lettuce, pickles, but in a diet-friendly context, replace the white bread slices with the keto high-fiber bread, replace the mayonnaise with low-fat mayo, you know, and well, I guess the turkey's always just turkey, the lettuce is always just lettuce, and so is the mustard. But little things, you know, if you're trying to diet down, if you can find a calorie-smart option, take it. It's going to make your fucking process of dieting so much easier, you know? Like fat-free cheese, love it. Zero sugar barbecue sauce, love it. Diet sodas, diet drinks, anything zero, love it. I'm not I'm not really freaking about any kind of aspartame. I will be a little tricky about like sucralose though, so it's like I'm picky about certain things. But in terms of aspartame, I've never had a problem. I'm not inclined to believe that you're gonna have a problem. But, you know, that's a case-by-case basis. You know, if you drink a diet soda and it immediately gives you a headache, then for one thing, I'm going to be a little concerned and ask you what your electrolyte intake is like. But, you know, whatever. Slam some water instead. Be a grown-up. But, yeah, I'm definitely excited to go home. I'm feeling so well rested. Because I don't know about you, I definitely hear in the literature that it's not ideal to go to bed on a full stomach or have a meal directly before bed. It's going to impact your recovery. I've never noticed that. I've never seen that as an issue for me, because I'll go to bed and fucking just have a massive ass meal right beforehand, go to bed with a full stomach, and I wake up like nothing, man. I fucking love it. So that's one thing where if you're dieting, I know I'm bulking, but I'm going on a little bit of a dieting rant here, but if you're dieting, if you're trying to trim down, I think it may be in your best interest, more than likely, to try to save and allocate more of your calorie intake towards later in the day, towards when you're going to go to bed, because then you can actually go to bed with a full stomach. You know, you're about to do ideally 8, really ideally like 9 hours straight of no eating, no drinking. So if you have a big ass meal beforehand, odds are any chance that you're going to wake up hungry or not be able to go to sleep because you're hungry, you're going to mitigate those, you know. And I think if you were to somehow track the time periods of the day which people are most likely to cheat on their diet, you know, and overshoot their calorie limit, I think the majority of those are going to happen at night, you know, because you were good all day. Fuck it, I deserve a little treat. Not good, man. You know, but either case, bulking or cutting, you've got to lock in. You've got to lock in soon, you know, because honestly, there's no wrong decision. Let's say you're about to spend the next 3 months doing something. Now, do you want to bulk up, set yourself up for a dieting phase later, make some actual tangible strength and size gains? Or do you want to start trimming down, peel off some of the body fat, look at the progress you've already made so far, maybe walk around lean for a little while, enjoy the time period where you're kind of in your show-offy state? Like, either case, you got to pick one. You know, because odds are what happens, and this is, I hear this all the time, it's like, should I bulk or should I cut? The longer that you're in that, you know, position of indecision, is the longer that you're just delaying gains. Like, you're not even trying in a way, you know, because for the lifter who's not like extremely locked in, who goes to the gym, has a workout, comes home, isn't really dieting, isn't really bulking, odds are you're not making much gains. Odds are you're not really making serious progress year to year, month to month. Week to week is a little bit abrupt, but month to month. You know, if you're the same lifter you were 3 months ago, then that means all you've been doing for the last 3 months is maintaining where you're at now. And as time changes, you know, as time passes, if you're doing something and manually putting effort into something, you know, you should be improving at it. So that's where I think if you're on the fence, you don't know if you should bulk, you don't know if you should cut. I'm bulking, so maybe I'm going to tell you that you should start bulking up as well. You know, start chowing down on some extra cups of rice, or get some Ben's Original, or instead of no breakfast, you know, have some eggs, have 4 packets of instant oatmeal, get some cream of wheat, throw some blueberries in there. You know, up the carb intake. Not too many sweets, though I don't have a problem with some sweets when you're bulking up, right? Because if you don't get enough calories in, you're just simply not going to grow. But I'm a bit more convinced, I'm a bit more understandable now that the majority of your excess calories, if they're coming from more conventionally, like, appropriate sources, I'm talking oats, I'm talking potatoes, I'm talking wheat, rice, you're probably gonna have a better time, you know. So I have yet to see that per se, but what I'm hoping is, you know, instead of having 400 grams of carbs from just like straight up sweets and whatever else, and primarily focusing on more oatmeals, rice, potatoes, like actual whole kind of food carb sources, what I'm hoping is that it's going to allow me to eat more food for longer, because those are less intensive on my whole system to actually break down. You know, my blood sugar's not going to go too crazy up and down from eating too many sweets all the time. That's what I'm thinking. That's kind of where my head's at there. But right now, I was just talking to somebody, in terms of this bulk, for these next few weeks, I'm in first gear. You know, I've shifted from neutral, which is me dieting down. I'm now in first. 3,500-ish calories. Honestly, 35 might be a little low. I think I might actually need to up it to 4,000, because I keep wanting to eat more. But 35, 4,000, that's about what I'm floating at, and I'm trying not to go over. Like, I'm hungry for more, but I'm gonna keep it here for a little while, because I'm literally already gaining weight, which is the goal. You know, the goal of this bulk is not to eat as much as possible every day. The goal of the bulk is to consistently gain weight. So if I'm gaining weight, that means I'm eating enough to grow. And if anything gets in the way of that, if my weight suddenly plateaus and I'm no longer up in the scale every week, then that's my cue, eat more food. You know, so that's where this ramp up style, this titrating up of calories, I feel is pretty much the approach to a real bulk. And had I known this, you know, 2 years ago and implemented this for my first bulking phase onward, would I be bigger now? Possibly. I can't say for sure, you know, but maybe. But that's where, you know, hindsight's 2020. You got to take every move with the current knowledge that you have at that point, and try to make a good fucking decision. So, you know, if you know, oh crap, I said I was going to do a bulk last year. I never really did it. Oh shit. It's not too late, man. Just start it right now. You know, go on the App Store, look up a macro tracker. It doesn't matter which one. You can do MyFitnessPal. You can get the stupid simple macro tracker, the one I use, which apparently is not that stupid simple. Sometimes you guys comment and you say that it's not very good. But either case, you know, I didn't even used to use a tracker. I would just open my Notes app for the, you know, on my phone, and just, you know, manually change the number of how many carbs, fats, and proteins I'd had that day, and, you know, track it like that. But however you want to do it, if you can make sure that every day, and I'm not talking like, you know, you need to meal prep. I'm not saying you have to do chicken, rice 8 times a day, every 2 hours. You know, I think end state
final state, that's probably the best way to do it, because you really got to optimize every possible vector of your digestion and everything like that. So I'm sure I'm going to get to a point where these meals are extremely rigid and routine, just to make sure I can keep getting them down on a consistent basis. But in general, for someone who's not necessarily super knowledgeable about, like, well, how do I even bulk? How do I even do that? It's very simple, man. You've got the entire day. You have your entire day, and all I need you to do is, before you go to bed at night, have eaten a gram per pound of body weight of protein. So if you're a 160 pounder, I want you to eat a gram of protein for every one of those pounds. I think that's about right. Some guys love talking about like doing 2 grams per pound. Not necessary. Some guys say do half a gram per pound. I think that's a little low. I think a gram per pound is about the sweet spot. So do that. Maybe get half that number in fats. This is just like a generalization. Like, this isn't totally exact, like a diet plan or anything. But that's kind of what I end up doing. I aim for like about a gram of protein, half a gram of fats, and then I just up the carbs as necessary. So right now I'm at about 3,500 calories, which is enough for me to steadily start gaining weight and refeeding myself. That puts me at about 400 or 300 grams of carbs per se. So as this bulk continues, the fat intake is going to stay about the same. I'm not going to get anything out of 300 grams of fats per day. It's not going to do anything except put more calories in my system. Having extra carbs is going to actually make me feel fucking big and full. So the carbs are going to increase, every few weeks. Make sure that my minimum carb intake for that day is now 400 grams instead of 300 grams. A few weeks are going to pass up to 500 grams, things like that. So just fucking start tracking your shit, man. Get a kitchen scale. I can't stress enough that you're missing the details if you're not really watching your diet. And I don't mean watching your diet like don't have treats. I mean watching your diet like not actually hitting your calorie goals. I know guys who say they're bulking, they say they're training hard, and they tell me numbers. These guys tell me, and I know this is such like a cliche kind of like bit, but I'm not lying. These guys are telling me, dude, I'm eating 5,000 calories per day, man, but I'm not growing. I don't say this to them at the time. I just say, yeah, I don't know, man, fuck. But what I'm thinking is, well, guess what? You're probably not eating 5,000 calories per day. Actually, not probably, you are definitely not eating 5,000 calories per day. I'm not ideally, if you're trying to bulk up, you're going to want to eat enough food to grow, but not so much food, not so many calories that you're just spilling over and converting a lot of it to fat. That's what I would consider a dirty bulk, is bulking to the point of like just high fat, body fat percentage that you don't need to do. But somewhere, maybe 1,000 calories above maintenance, whatever that is for you, I think that's about the sweet spot. And then increase is necessary. But there's a little bit of a cue. There's an indicator that's going to tell you if you're eating enough food or not. And that is your bathroom scale. Don't weigh yourself midday. Don't weigh yourself before you go to bed, because you've eaten food, you've drank water, you've walked around, you're probably wearing clothes. That's not going to work. That's not a fucking valuable piece of information. If you weigh 200 when you go to bed, but you're 170 or you're 187 when you wake up in the morning. So how I look at it in terms of tracking your weight: wake up, take a piss, go number 2, no clothes, hop on the scale. That is your real weight. If anybody asks me how heavy I am, if I eat a ton of food and I drink a ton of water, I could be 260 right now. But I'd have just a full stomach of nothing. That's not body weight. So your real weight is in the morning after you go to the bathroom. You got an empty stomach, that's your real weight. So if you weigh yourself like that you don't even have to do it every day, but if you do that, every Friday morning, I'm still going to do it every day because I like the information. But if you weigh yourself consistently and your weight isn't changing, that means you have to eat more. And sure, if you're a guy who doesn't really naturally have a huge appetite, you don't just love chowing down on a crazy amount of food, then yeah, that's gonna suck for you, man. But this is an unfair world. So if you're the guy who you're like, dude, I eat so much already, look, if you want to grow, you're going to have to eat more. And don't shoot the messenger. You know, I'm just trying to tell you what's up. The same thing is true in reverse. You know, somebody can think they're dieting hard as fuck. They think they're like, I'm not eating anything, man. I feel like I'm starving. But same thing. If the scale isn't going down, that guy's eating too many calories. And there's tips, there's tricks. You know, all the meals that I'm eating, especially later on down this bulk, I'm going to eat them specifically because I know it's going to be easy for me to eat. And in reverse, when I'm dieting down, I try to make sure I eat foods that are a little bit longer to eat. They're a bit more kind of, not fluffy, but voluminous, per se, where it takes a while to eat it. I got a big plate of food in front of me, but it only ends up adding up to like, 600 calories in one big ass plate of meals. So it's not so simple as just eat more and just eat less. There are tips and tricks to go about it. But looking at it from an overarching kind of third person perspective, the guy who's not growing isn't eating enough food. And the guy who's not getting leaner is eating too much. So you got to be able to have the humility to look at your own fucking, let's just say, history of progress and say, crap, maybe I have been eating too much food. Maybe I should be trying to track my macros. I've been kind of telling myself I want to start dieting down, but I haven't really. If that's you, if you've got that little itch, I can guarantee if you fucking scratch it by way of actually starting to kind of lock it in, look up some Greg Doucette cookbook recipes or whatever else, and start to get a grasp on the diet side of things, you will not fucking regret it. So that's my ending shtick there. So today was arm day. I'll see you tomorrow for what I think is going to be a pretty nasty ass carved up pumped leg day. I better get a good night's rest. So I'll see you then. Back time, but it is time to go out and hit back. So there's a gym that's a little bit further away from me, which I've been going to a lot. Kind of the old school one I went to yesterday. But for simpler muscle groups, I don't mind just going to more of a basic gym. The one I'm headed to today, they've got cables, dumbbells, a few back machines, and that's pretty much it. I'm not talking home gym dumbbells and a rack basic, but just basic shit. There's no need to use like a fucking Nautilus pull down where like the seat moves, or like any weird kind of free motion. There's nothing really special. Don't get confused. There's nothing extremely special about any one particular piece of gym equipment, apart from its ability to, its ability to let you activate your own ability to fucking contract whatever your targeted muscle may be. So, for me, with a lot of new shit, I'm sure you've noticed this. For me, at my old, at my college gym, they replaced a lot of equipment. They got some new stuff. And it was like a new line of, I don't remember, like Life Fitness or something. All just like weird pulleys where you didn't need them. Like, the more basic a machine is, honestly, I almost think the better. Just because, it doesn't have to have that many moving parts, Like, I'll get on an old pec deck, like a really kind of old school one, where it's like just fucking, not even plastic coated handles, just a straight up metal bar as the handle. It's my favorite pec deck ever. It was my favorite pec deck of all fucking time. And then it gets replaced with a brand spanking new, covered in plastic, selectorized, just scrappy pec deck. That's where, that's my only gripe with a lot of, but then again, that's from my perspective of like a crazy fucking lifter, to the, the kind of the average guy to look into a gym and see all the equipment matching. It all looks nice. It all looks fancy and new. It's a bit more of a draw for like commercial gyms. So that's where I like a lot of newer equipment where it's actually kind of more bodybuilding oriented. But apart from that, all I'm trying to say there is, who gives a shit? If you see videos of guys in Gold's Gym and they get to use a fancy multiple angle Panada chest press, and all you've got is your hammer strength one at home, which kind of is a little squeaky for your home gym, whatever, man. Doesn't it's not about the tools, right? We've all heard only a bad craftsman blames his tools. But yeah, plan here, keep it simple. Pull downs, rows, pullovers of a few different varieties. And then by the time I've done like maybe 8-ish sets, that'll be it. For back, I usually do a little bit of an alternating approach because, well, I'll just say my approach first. Like, I might start with 2 sets of pull downs or a pull down style movement, and then maybe move on to, you know, I don't know, maybe like fucking, I mean, it's whatever. Pull downs, pullovers, rows, fucking, it doesn't really matter. But kind of going back and forth between pull downs, lat focus movements, and then more rowing, mid-back, trap focus movements. Because by the time I go back and forth between like 3 of those, like I did a few rows, a few pull downs, back and forth, then my back is going to be completely pumped and fatigued at the end of the lift. And doing a pull down, you still get a little bit of lower trap activation from, the kind of the retraction of your scapula. And same thing with rows, you're still going to get lat activation. So even though there is merit to looking at every muscle group at each individual like muscle insertions level, I wouldn't sweat it. You're not gonna catch me do 10 sets of traps and then 10 sets of lats and then 10 sets of mid back. At least for me, just hitting my back in its entirety from different angles, 8-ish sets, that's about right. Because by the time I've done that many, I'm fully pumped, I'm fully fatigued, and I've seen reasonable back growth. And that is not me saying that that's a perfect approach. I'm just saying for my own build and everything else that I'm doing, that works for me. So that's where you got to figure that shit out for yourself, man. If whatever back training you've been doing, you've noticed that your lats aren't any bigger. One thing that really kind of spoils me now is just how much I document all my training. Like, not even on the social media side of things, just for me to be able to look at, at this point, we're getting into 1.5 years, almost years of just straight daily documentation of all the workouts and stuff. I can see minute changes, especially in the posing. Like, it's really kind of abrupt in the intros. I keep seeing all the Sam clips get reposted, and it's like the lat spread that I did in the first intro, like where I'm up against that white screen, versus the second one versus the third one. Like, my sort of silhouette has gotten so much crazier over the last 1.5 years, which is just really fucking cool for me to see. So that's where, now getting into a little bit of a side note, if you're really going to be serious about working out, and then honestly, probably just in general, it's nice to have an actual camera. We've all got our phones, everybody's got, there's all the shot on iPhone, like Apple ads, so everybody thinks they have a crazy fancy phone, or a crazy fancy camera in their pocket at all times, which we definitely do. But there's something kind of fancy that happens when you actually have a real, like, camera lens, because that's what kind of gives that background sort of blurry effect. It's worth looking into, So if you're thinking about something for your birthday or something, for Christmas, I guess if you're in my younger demographic, something to tell your parents to get you, or if you're in my older demographic, something for you to get yourself. Having a camera is pretty fucking cool, because my these little pose down comparisons and like looking at my training clips from a real kind of cool camera versus my phone's camera, I feel way cooler looking at the fucking HD 4K clips, and even though your phone says it shoots in 4K, not the same, absolutely not the same. But enough camera chat, which I'll definitely do from time to time. This is not something I really expected, it's not something I predicted, but from doing all these and watching all these camera videos, I feel like a total fucking photography nerd. And I love it. I love looking at all the brand new fucking lenses and zooms and, you get the gist. But let's stop nerding out and get started on back. On whatever movement I end up starting with. What do you think? Roll the dice. Lats focused or mid-back focused row? Let's find out. All done. Diabolically pumped, satisfactorily fatigued, and in an overall sense, I am rather content at the moment. There's no more zen period for the lifter's day than post-lift, and I've been saying this a lot, post-lift, sit in your car, play on your phone, you know you had a good workout, you push yourself hard, now you get to chill. You know, that's just nice. That's just nice. And the cool part is, that happens no matter how good you felt. As long as the effort was there. I don't care if I was like dog shit sick today. You know, the fact that I knew I pushed it, I'm still a happy camper. You know? So that's where you've basically got a few different sets of responsibilities in terms of maintaining your progress and making legit gains. You have your your kind of animalistic intensity responsibility, where if you're in the gym and you've taken your pre-workout, you're gonna lift fucking hard, regardless of if you feel good, if you feel tired, if you got a good amount of sleep, if you're a bit dehydrated, if you didn't eat enough food, if you maybe ate too much food and you feel a little sick, whatever. You've got a responsibility to yourself, if you actually want to make gains, to where once you step in the doors, some serious work is going to be done. But you can help yourself out. You know, if that's you on if that's the day shift, if that's the morning shift, then the closing shift is when you're at home doing everything else outside of the workout, which is gonna affect how good you feel during the workout. You know? So if you get a good amount of rest, you drink enough fucking water, or throw some electrolyte packets in there of any variety, have a good amount of food, hit your protein intake, don't stay awake until 3 a.m. when you have to wake up at 7, things like that, then there's no longer an added difficulty of the intensity side of things, because you're already good, you're ready, you're prepped. The best lifts that I ever have, I'm looking at them objectively, like strength, intensity, pump, everything, the best and most productive lifts that I have, and I mean like not productive in the grand scheme of like maintaining my effort levels, I mean the workouts which I know are the best and giving me the best results, are the ones where everything is in order. I'm well rested, I'm well fed, I'm well slept, and when all those things are fucking, you know, locked in, then I'm probably almost gonna have a guaranteed good mindset, because I've got nothing like irking or nagging me in my mind, making me get distracted or whatever. And all I get to do is go in and really just see how fucking hard I can push myself. And then, you know, before you know it, your music's playing, the workout's over, you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're saying, I gotta make a fucking stops of goodwill. This 2XL is a little bit tight on me. Better get a 4XL. You know, and that is a pretty cool thing to fucking think. So that's where it's, I mean, it's encroaching on your way of life. So that's, this is not a rhetorical statement. You know, how far do you want to take it? There are a lot of guys who just work out, they go to the gym, they don't really worry much about the diet side of things, they're not hitting their protein perfectly every day, they're not taking creatine, they're not doing their multivitamins, that's just not what they're into. They just want to work out, have a good, you know, hour of exercise every day, come home, totally chill, not have to worry about it. And that's totally fucking fine, you know? As much as I'm always like, dude, you gotta track your macros, bro. You gotta count every gram, you gotta weigh it out. Just having an exercise routine, like a workout routine, going to the gym every day, plus if you were to do your cardio in the morning as well, like if you took a guy and you told him nothing about diet, you told him nothing about fucking like sleep or, you know, anything fucking supplementary, whatever. He's not taking multivitamins, he's not fucking doing whatever. All you had him do was do 30 minutes of cardio in the morning, you know, break a sweat, burn like 300 calories, have his heart rate elevated for 30 minutes. And that could be playing fucking basketball or just doing anything. Doesn't matter. If he's active for 30 minutes in the morning, cardiovascular style, and then he did a weight-based workout in the evening, and it doesn't even have to be like insane maximum Dorian Yates failure type sets every time. If he just did 8 like decent working sets, he felt a burn, he knew he did some damage, he stimulated his muscle. If he did that for a few months without changing anything else, or without trying to change anything else about his diet, that dude is gonna make serious fucking gains. You know, if you take a regular ass guy and you make him fucking exercise and be active like that, that is a fucking game changer. Now, when I talk about the importance of the diet and everything else, and like making sure your sleep's on point, you're getting all your fucking vitamins, you're taking your fish oil, you're getting all your fucking, red meats in, and steaks and proteins and chicken and whatever, that's all, I don't want to say extra, but those are kind of, extra kind of, I was about to say upgrades. I've been playing a lot of Balloons Tower Defense Battles. It's almost, I'm kind of enjoying it more than fucking Clash Royale. But so when I talk about the importance of the diet side of things and locking in every other aspect of your training, that is going to continue to give you gains, right? You're going to have to do that if you want to make continued gains beyond like the 6-8 month mark. But in no way do you have to even really worry about that as a beginner. If you haven't worked out at all yet, you haven't gotten into it at all, you're a complete novice, or you know somebody who's a complete novice, do not like pressure them into thinking that they need to be a goddamn professional dietitian to start working out. And like, if they do anything short of that, then they're not going to make any progress. Being in the gym on a consistent basis is night and day compared to somebody who's not training at all. And then, that's kind of like the gateway drug of lifting, because once you start working out, odds are you see your first bicep vein, you're hooked. And you're going to say, oh crap, gains are pretty fucking cool. What can I do to make this, continue to let me progress for longer? Then you're going to start looking into your diet more. You're going to realize like, oh crap, maybe 30 grams of protein per day isn't ideal for somebody my weight. Maybe I should be eating a little bit more, little things like that. And then before you know it, you're walking into the gym and you're saying, oh crap, yeah, I don't really like this push down handle. I feel way too much short head. I'm going to switch to single arm overhead because I can really work my long head. And you're going to know every little itty bitty detail about lifting just from, half of it is just going to be from social media. Our phones are always listening to us now. Even if you watch this clip inadvertently, it just got fed to you, odds are your phone's going to keep pushing like fitness related content to you, which kind of blessing and a curse style. Definitely a fucking invasion of your privacy. But that does mean that you've got lifting tips and information at your fingertips at all fucking times. So I say, as soon as you kind of realize you want to make legit gains, it's an upward fucking, or it's a upward spiral. There we go. I was about to say downward spiral. No. It's an upward spiral, because you're going to work out, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to say, okay, what can I do to keep enjoying this? What can I do to keep making gains? I don't want my bench to be 225 forever. I want to get up to 250. I want to get up to 270. I want to get up to whatever. Right? You got to lock in the diet, man. And in terms of weight gain, I haven't really talked much about bulking, even though this is like early stages in my bulk right now. There's no way to get around it. If you want to grow, if you want to make legit fucking muscular gains, get bigger, get stronger, get more fucking defined peaks of your bicep and have your chest protrude out more, you gotta eat enough to fucking, facilitate that growth. And that's something which you really have to kind of learn to understand. And I can't really say it any more plainly than that. If I didn't eat enough, it's a guarantee, I know it. If I don't eat enough food this bulk, no matter how hard and well I train, I'm not gonna grow. I'm just gonna end up staying the exact same size. Because don't forget, the point of working out per se and going into the gym, you're not growing any muscle in the gym. Honestly, all you're doing is stressing out your system and really stressing out whatever muscle you just trained locally. And then what you do outside of the gym, diet-wise, sleep-wise, recovery-wise, that's what determines the effect of that muscular stimulation that you got with the weights. So when I'm dieting down, if I destroy my fucking quads, when I come home and I eat in my calorie deficit, all I'm doing is, fucking repairing the damage I did to my quads, having them maintain their size and strength, because I don't have enough calories in my system to fucking, maintain and build up some more fucking quad mass. But now that I'm getting into the fucking calorie surplus kind of side of things, when I fucking wrecked my back today, I'm gonna go home and my body's gonna say, shit man, you got a fucking full tank. Let's fix this. Let's fix this up right. It's like flipping a house. You gotta have the money to do the repairs and then actually make it nicer. If you kind of catch my gist there, that's kind of pushing it with the analogies, but there's no way to get around it. So If you know that you're itching for some more gains and you've been kind of staying around the same weight for more than you would like, I don't want to call you out for a specific time frame, but you know that you want to get bigger, get stronger. Some guys in your friend group they're focusing on their meals. You're seeing them walking around with fucking prepped meals and a thing of in like little plastic Tupperwares. Look, those things of chicken and rice or just anything, the food is gonna add up. And if you can't get it down, then you need to figure out a way to. And that's kind of on you, man. Because a lot of stuff, fitness related, workout related, diet related, it's not really that simple as to just listen to someone talk about it and then you internalize it and you now get it. You have to go through the process of seeing what you're doing actually result in some kind of change in your own body, and then you'll understand. You know, that's like telling a kid not to fucking like, don't lick that 9-volt battery, it's gonna zap your tongue. They're like, well, no, it's not. That's not really what happens. You know what I'm saying, right? You don't understand how sharp a knife is until you accidentally cut yourself. So that's sort of the idea I'm saying there. You know, as much as you may kind of hear and listen to me like fucking yap on and on about calories and macros and I was about to say supersets. You know, calories and macros and surpluses and deficits. Once you've gone through the process of watching yourself lose body weight because you've been eating in a consistent deficit, or once you've watched yourself begin to gain body weight, make size gains, make strength gains, because you're finally actually eating in a consistent surplus, once you've done that, that's when a little switch in your brain is going to click and you're going to realize, like, oh shit, yeah, man, food is actually having a pretty serious effect on how I feel. After just one day of eating a lot of food, because I was doing 2,500 2 days ago, the day before and the day of chest, I was eating about, like, I went a little extra, had like 4,000. I'm cutting down, doing like 3.5 right now for this next few weeks. But after just a few days, 2 days literally, of higher than normal calories, actually eating in a calorie surplus, than sticking into that deficit that I've been in for a while, I immediately felt fucking stronger, because I went from being flat and carb depleted to fucking, you know, full and kind of pumped up. So once you've done that and you've gone through the process of that, then you're gonna really get it. And then it'll be so much easier to, you know, kind of pretty much just apply yourself to your diet, because you'll really have a deep understanding, like, okay, this is gonna have a direct result with my progress. Because if no one's ever actually dieted before, they don't really get it. This is something which I love seeing every time we do any kind of like appearances or stuff, or at the Arnold, or whenever we stop at like a supplement store and I get to talk to everybody. The guys who show me their fat loss transformations, where they lost like 80 pounds in like 6 months, or I mean, some of these guys lost like 100 pounds in a whole year. They understand it. You know, I can relate with them on a fucking deep level, because they know calories in, calories out is the thing that they're kind of fighting against. That's their stimulus to actually make their fucking gains towards their end result of whatever progress they're aiming for, you know? So I can't stress enough, the primary stimulator of my growth of this bulk, it's the calories. Because if I don't eat enough, I'm simply not going to grow. So that's I think that's the end of my shtick right there. I got to get gas before I head back to the crib, and then I've got a steak waiting for me in the sous vide. Sear that thing up with a pack of instant rice, and I'm gonna be a happy guy. So I'll see you tomorrow for arms. Oh my god, first bulked arm pump. I might be too excited. So let me not crash my car while turning. I'll see you then, guys. I'm getting the itch. You know, I'm getting hit with those bulking withdrawals. I gotta, not yet. The calories, let's not even think about it. Let's just think about the lift. So plan for tonight, back, and a little shoulders. Not a crazy amount of shoulders, just a little bit of shoulders. Kind of just for kicks, you know, because for me, my shoulders are a little bit overpowering to my arms. And not necessarily Well, it kind of sucks because like if I just stand, like if I'm standing in front of the mirror, and especially if I've got like a chest pump, so my chest is extra big, my shoulders don't just like jut out like fucking shoulder pads on a 90s suit. But whenever I do like a double bicep shot, my shoulders are so much higher than my biceps are. And the sort of roundness that they give compared to my arms, tris and bis, it's overpowering, So triceps, you'd only really, or no, shoulders, at least for me, now that they're pretty developed, they're one of my stronger points. They only need a little work every so often, kind of just to keep everything moving around smoothly. But I'll throw some of those in at the end. Probably just a few supersets of rear delt, something or others, maybe flies, maybe face pulls, who's to say, and side lateral raises. So when it comes to shoulder training, I just got this question by somebody at the gym last night. Like, what's a good way to, hit my side delt? It's kind of whatever you want, man. I don't think that's the right question to ask. I think a better question would be, what sort of sets should I be doing? Like heavier weight, lighter weight, higher reps, lower reps. I think that's a bit more of a telling question because there's actually more substance to it. Because all your shoulder does, if you're hitting your side delts, if you're trying to do some side delt work, is you're just taking your shoulder from your, close to your side in the stretch position up here in a fucking contracted position. And then you just sort of fucking keep doing that, So if you have the patience, and I know it kind of sucks because when you're doing side laterals or shoulders, it just feels like you're doing the same shit over and over on repeat. But if you can get comfortable and not lose your patience, and just sit there and do 10 sets of like 20 lateral raises and they get a little bit tricky because failure is kind of harder to hit on them because you can always move them just a little bit. But as long as you do like 8-10 sets of solid, hard side laterals and you can tell that your shoulders are burning and you're getting them pumped up, then that sounds fucking perfect to me, So whether you want to do standing dumbbell, single arm, cable, machine, there's a couple different machines here that I'm probably going to end up using. I really do think that it only hits your shoulder in very slightly different ways. You can build a big ass set of fucking boulders just by doing dumbbell laterals, bent over dumbbell laterals, and then dumbbell shoulder press, So that's sort of my position on shoulders. It's been a while since I've really had to hit them with too much of a vengeance per se, Let's say my business between me and my shoulders is basically settled at this point. Now, once my chest and my back are, my chest, my back, and my arms are big enough to the point where I need my shoulders to grow so that they can, keep up with the rest of me, then that's where I'm going to say, all right, now it's time to fucking hit these little guys harder than they're used to. Get them back in line, keep them from fucking behaving. But is it inconceivable that if a muscle is already a bit developed on your frame, that you should back off and just work on all your weak points to bring them up? That's sort of my thoughts there. And then my plan for back, honestly, back is almost in the same boat with shoulders to the point where I'm going to take out back during this next bulking phase. Like right now, the routine has been legs, chest, back, arms, and then immediately jump back to legs and repeat the loop. So on this next bulk, and this isn't like a guarantee, I'm just kind of almost just spitballing with myself out loud, but I'm going to do legs, chest, back, arms. But instead of repeating that exact same 4 days, I'm going to make that second part, that second half of the week, a little bit different, and then do legs, chest. Now I have this spare day, which used to be my back day, and I'll replace that with some weak points. Maybe do forearms. Add some forearms in there. Maybe do what else? Fuck, maybe just forearms, honestly. Still, get some forearm gains in there. But yeah, same thing. If my back's a little too big, I need everything else to catch up, then I'm going to ease back on back. But I'm not so concerned with that today, especially since I'm still dieting down. This workout isn't going to make me grow. It is just going to maintain the size that I have built up, plus give me a fucking solid ass pump while I keep dieting down
for these last few days, for these last finishing touches. But in terms of what it's going to look like, we know the deal. I'm talking pull downs, I'm talking machine rows, I'm talking pullovers. And you know what I just really haven't been into is bent over barbell rows. And that is not for no reason, because for me, bent over barbell rows is pretty fucking stressful on my lower back. And I don't necessarily mean in like an injury based way. I just mean like bent over barbell rows, if you're doing them for real, that's going to be very taxing on my whole energy system as a whole. So I think I'm probably better off conserving some of that energy and spending more of it on pull downs and chest supported rows. Stuff where I actually get to manually target whatever muscle I'm trying to target that day. But no more chatting. Let's get this stuff. I lied. No shoulders. They're too freaking developed. Save that for the future once my arms are back up to par. But that was a rather nice back day. Yeah, fucking 7 sets. I am totally A-okay with that, And when I say that, don't somehow take that as, okay, Sam did 7 sets in his workout, I should do 7 sets. No. Because I did not do a 7-set workout. I did as many sets as I felt necessary to fully kind of fatigue and stimulate my back to the point where I'm not only like fatigued enough that I can say like, okay, that was a good workout. I've done enough to stimulate growth. I now want to go home and rest, begin the recovery process so I can come back, do the same thing again tomorrow. But, that, and, I was pretty fucking pumped as well. So if that would have taken me 12 sets to do, then I would have done 12 sets. If it only took me 3 sets, then I would have done 3 sets and said, back day is done. I'm going home. But the even kind of middle ground, the amount of volume which I would hear from someone, as long as those sets were really hard, legit, nasty sets, if you're floating around that 8 range, and it's a wide range, do not get me wrong, I think that's about right. If I try to do a 20 set back day, I think I'm just, then if I did that, the sets would just be less intense, so it would be more of kind of a volume based day. But if you're trying to do, really hard sets, I think it only takes around 8-ish to have fully stimulated whatever you're trying to hit. So that's something where you might just kind of get comfortable with it and get a little more of an idea of where you want to call your workouts and how much volume you really need based on your own gains and progress. Because that's the actual indicator that matters. Who gives a hoot what I or any other big ass lifter says if when you apply that info and those tips to your training, if it doesn't, correlate to any progress, So if you go through the process of working out where as a beginner, we've all done it, you look up like workout split, you're looking up videos and you're copying other people's chest days to a T. You're like, okay, so let's do it just like they did. After you've done that for long enough, you should kind of get a little bit more of an understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and how you can kind of optimize it for you, and like maybe your lats take over a lot in your rowing movements, so you don't have to do so many pull downs, and you can focus more so on the rows. It's just a lot of it really is trial and error. So that's where I say, don't be discouraged if you're not completely confident in what you're doing and how you're doing it. Because just by working out, just by coming to the gym on a consistent basis, as a beginner, especially, this is the most important, you're just going to gain training experience. And as long as you're not doing absolutely horrendous reps and your form is reasonable, then over time, you're just going to get better at training harder. You're going to get better at, manually isolating and like squeezing your bicep. And before you know it, fast forward a few months or years or however long it takes, you're going to be thinking like, okay, I want to do this hammer strength press because I know I'm going to feel it in my upper chest. Oh, and this one gets my front delt. I don't want to do that one at all. Like these real little detail things like that. It's just the nature of the. I don't know, what am I going to say? It's just kind of what's going to happen over time. I say this a lot. This is kind of my classic
fucking hypothetical, but if I went to a go-kart track every day for an hour and a half, I think after a few months I'm gonna be pretty fucking smart and knowledgeable about go-karting because I'm like wrapped up in it. I'm doing it a lot, and it's kind of always on my mind. And then now this is one of the, I would say, the positives of social media and having your phone and the entire internet at a, not even at a hand's reach, literally already in your hand all the time, is whatever sort of hobby or interest that you may be into, it's just kind of going to be shown to you a lot. So if you're into the gym, if you're into working out, or I mean, at this, it's getting a little too far where you just talk about working out and your phone's in the same room with you, and then your phone starts showing you workout videos. It's pretty fucking unsettling, but you're just gonna get fed intel about the gym over time. So that's where, like I said a second ago, don't get worried if you don't think you've got everything perfectly fucking found out. This is a long-term fucking, trial and error, adjusting your approach to things kind of endeavor, where that's not a bad thing. Because as a beginner, your training doesn't have to be perfect because you're a beginner. You're extra sensitive to gains and weight training. But the longer that you lift, the harder it is to get that. Let's rewind 3 seconds. The longer that you lift, right, the easier and the better that you're going to get at lifting. So the longer you do it, the better you get at it. And that's kind of countered by the longer you do it, the harder it gets to make continued gains. I made this reference a little bit ago. It's like trying to dig a hole with a shovel, right? It's like you're trying to dig to China in your backyard. All you've got's a hand shovel. As a beginner, right, when you're in the newbie gains phase, it's pretty easy to sink that thing straight into the soft soil and take out some scoops. You think you're making some solid ass fucking progress with your beginner routine, even though it's not that crazy and like extremely strenuous. It works. But as soon as you start hitting harder ground, you're gonna have to put some more energy into it. And as soon as you get into something like a, more gravelly kind of rock sort of layer, like that's your first real plateau, that's where you're gonna have to maybe rethink what you've been doing and say, okay, as a beginner I trained like this and it worked. Like the way that I trained as a beginner, clearly it worked. I was making steady gains, but it's just not going to work now. I need to really put some more thought and energy into this stuff. And that's actually fucking extra cool for me, which the main thing which I'm concerned about right now, I'm always concerned about my training. I'm always concerned about like what sets I'm doing and trying to change it up. And, like today I did some of those slower squeezing reps, as well as some nasty kind of brutish pull downs at the end too, and then finishing with that squeezing set of that sort of half row, half pull down. Like, I'm concerned about my training. I want to improve it over time, make sure that I'm continuing to stimulate every freaking muscle fiber on my body well enough to keep growing. That is still a constant concern, and it probably always will be. I'm always going to be thinking of new ways to try to go about this stuff and be open-minded to new ideas, whatever. But the part that I'm extra excited about this bulk for, which is a bit different from every bulking phase that I've tried to do previously, is the diet side of things. I believe is going to be improved in a major fucking way. Now I'm still gonna have my treats, don't get me wrong, ice cream is not off the menu, but to go from how I've been eating beforehand, in these previous few bulking phases, to now really being much more methodical with my meal sizes and timing throughout the day, and getting into a real kind of bodybuilding eating routine, rather than just eating a huge breakfast, big ass lunch, and then like some snacks for the rest of the day, and having kind of sporadic calorie intake. Dude, I am fucking getting really excited. Because I say 280, maybe I might be guessing too low. That might be too light of a goal for this next, I guess you could call it an off season, right? Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the sky isn't the limit, it's just a goddamn stepping stone. So I'm getting real amped up for these next few months. But doesn't start yet. Does not start yet. Give it a little longer. Give it just a little bit longer. So plan for tomorrow. Arms. I'm trying to hold back more yawns. I've already yawned like fucking 10 times. Yeah. Plan for arms. Well, why spoil it? Why don't we talk about arms tomorrow when I actually go and hit them? But what I will spoil for you is that I'm going to have a nice ass cardio session in the morning. You know, I'm talking 1 hour long. It's the last week of the dieting phase. I'm not this lean forever. I better up my game with the calories, or at least with the calorie burning. So, another I was about to say spiritual. Another little fun aspect of it too is I know that I'm not doing double the cardio that you're doing. I'm doing an infinite amount of times more cardio than you're doing. Right? Because an hour is infinitely longer than 0 minutes. So take with that information what you will. You know? And honestly, I mean, think of it like a fucking challenge, you know? I feel like cardio doesn't get the respect in relation to what training is that it deserves. You know, cardio gets considered to be just a chore, just a hassle, just something that's not necessary. And even worse, some people say it's bad for your fucking gains and your progress. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. It's like, I don't know if I understand it. It's like you guys have a vendetta. It's like I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about everybody who's anti-cardio. It's like you've got a vendetta against gains and progress, man. And I just can't get behind it, you know. I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm kind of passive with you guys. Look, I'm stomping my foot down right here. You've got to be doing your cardio. Now, I'm not saying you have to immediately start doing 30 minutes of cardio every morning, but I really do think that you're going to benefit and you're going to enjoy the benefits that you get from getting your cardiovascular system trained in a much more frequent routine, you know. So it's hard to make it any clearer than that, you know. But that's my final statement to a solid back day and a contributive and a solid day of dieting as well. So time to go home, have some egg whites with mustard. I'm talking 0 carbs. I already ate all my carbs for the day, all 200 grams. Take my vitamins, hit the sack, wake up for tomorrow. So I'll see you then for arms. Not yet. You know, we're getting close. Not yet, though. The diet will persist. Just a few units of time longer. But today, I have eaten a lot of my food that I sort of have myself restricted to. To the point where my post-workout meal is not going to be particularly carb heavy or fat heavy. It's really just going to be lean protein. I'll probably just do egg whites with like some 0 sugar barbecue sauce. Just because I kind of had all my carbs already today. You know, a couple of just protein bars, 10 grams of carbs each. Had a few steaks, ½ pounds each, of course. Some oatmeal. Shit adds up quick. But I'm only saying that now because I'm trying to diet down. As soon as I start bulking up and I reach a point of like, all right, it's getting hard to eat, then I'm going to have the complete opposite problem where I'm going to say, God, these calories won't add up enough. Oh my goodness. You know, so it's kind of a sort of a two sides of the same coin type situation there. But I'm definitely excited to get back to the gains train, making some real weight-based progress. Plus, I've been under 250 for too long. 240, 239. Well, it's 238.5 this morning. Feels strange. It feels. Let's just say I'm ready to be heavy again. But plan for today's arm day, very similar to normal. I'm talking push downs and curls. You know, I'm talking probably. There's not even any point predicting it because it'll just kind of depend on how I feel as I'm warming up. Because I might walk into the gym and say, okay, I think I want to start with some rope push downs. But then as soon as I grab the rope, I don't really love the feeling I'm getting from it that specific day. And then I'll switch to like straight bar. But you know, you have to remember that those little nuances of different exercises, it doesn't change how your workout really looks. All it does is change the handle that you're using. You know, whether you're doing an incline barbell bench or a machine incline press, all your chest knows is it's pushing in this direction with load. So that's where I say don't sweat it, man. As long as you get some heavy hard sets in, some light squeezing ones where you really burn out to the point where you just can't fucking handle it anymore, Plus, you finish your workout with a pump. It's not too complicated, right? I think spending too much energy on the nuances and the minor details, you're going to lose sight of the big picture, which is you just want to go to the gym, exert yourself, and leave. I think the guy who goes to the gym and is much more concerned about like the different parts of his bicep that he's stimulating, like, oh well, like, I want to make sure I target my lower, my front delt and my reverse femoralis. And I've heard these guys before. I hate to call them out, but the guys who start talking to me about their femoralis are not the biggest guys in the gym, in my experience. Now that may just be me, lifter profiling, but that's kind of what I've come across. The real biggest guys are the ones who fucking just they just train like nutcases, man. They're freaks about it. They love it. That's where I think the guys who push themselves the hardest for the longest go the furthest. So a little bit of a denser car talk there, but I think it gets the job done. So let's warm up my. I'm gonna be able to get through them all. Maybe I'll kind of save that post for use in the future. But I kind of screenshotted some of the top ones, and then if it goes quick enough, we'll just kind of go back and scroll through some of the new ones. So the first one from the Ukrainers, or the Ukaners. How's the fame change your life on a day-to-day basis? It seems like you've handled it better than most who let it get to their heads. I think probably the most important part there is I'm doing the same stuff that I do anyway. I'm getting up and doing my cardio like I did for years before, lifting like I did for years before, eating the same kind of stuff. It's like nothing's really changed. Now it's just kind of on video, which is crazy fucking wild how big it's gotten. Like I can tell I'm kind of nonchalant with it, like I'm just going about my day like normal. But no, just looking at the numbers, this is like the craziest shit ever. So don't think I'm getting too spoiled about it. Like this is definitely fucking wild for me. Steve to the O says, what's your favorite Minecraft biome to build my base? I don't know if I could say specifically, because honestly I'm not really an out in the open kind of guy. I'm more of like build it into a cliff with like a waterfall, or like do something underwater. Whichever one. What is the classic biome? What's like kind of the classic like birch trees and oaks? Whichever one that is, that's kind of what I'm sticking to. Keep it simple. The Wisconsin volleyball team, not verified, so I don't think it's actually them. Where's the Spotify playlist at? Well, the only real problem there is I don't have a Spotify playlist per se. I just kind of go through my liked tracks. So I've got like 900 liked songs. I guess I could, I'll see if I can kind of just convert that to a new playlist, and then I can post a link to that. Because I don't think you can post, or you can have your like liked songs linked like that. I guess that's something for me to look into. I'll jot that down. Gojo or Sukuna? I don't know, man. They're both kind of, well, I don't know, man. Gojo's getting dogged on right now. Sukuna's he's never failed the clutch. So, if I had to pick, I'd probably say Sukuna. I'm getting more hyped up from a Sukuna edit than I am from a Gojo one. But it's by a hair. They're both fucking baller. I think the real question is add Toji in there. Right? Now that's a fucking debate. Because honestly, sure, not by strength. Obviously he got dogged. But in terms of aura, I don't know, man. Toji's kind of top dog in my opinion. JG12352, are you ever going to do a bodybuilding show? With 27 likes. Come on, what are you guys talking about? Is that a real question? Of course I am. Right? Give me some time. But I think the generalized plan at this point, at least that I'm kind of beginning to loosely follow, is I'm thinking early next year. Because at the end of this next kind of 5, 6, however many month bulking phase I'm going to hit, I do not, and this may be delusion, but I do not feel, let's just say I feel pretty confident in saying that I think the off-season weight is going to be a decently lean, 275, 280. Like, that doesn't seem crazy for me right now. So I guess the proof will be in the pudding on how big I can actually get. But no, and if you're 270 lean off season at my height, I don't know what you're doing if you're not doing a competition, But no, that's the plan, It's just I'm not in a rush. If you can have infinite time to prepare, why not be a freak first? Why not be a total freak show first and then roll up? And even if you're not the best guy there, you still look like a fucking baller, So that's my approach. I want to make sure there's a pretty cool package before I put the amount of time and energy that it's going to take to get show ready. Because you got to remember, a bodybuilding show takes a lot of fucking time and effort to do. You don't just do it. You don't just do a 2-month diet and then you do a show. This is more of like, I'm in kind of 2.5 months deep of this diet now. I'm talking an extra month and a half plus kind of a peak week. Very kind of strenuous in a way. And what that is to me is time that I'm not growing. And for my kind of goals, the bodybuilding side of things, growing is the actual driving force that's pushing me further progress-wise. So I want to spend as much time as I can growing and getting bigger and developing lean tissue before I do my first competition. I want to really max out the weight cap. That's kind of where my head's at there. But it'll happen. It's going to happen. I'm talking posing trunks, tan, oiled up, to music. You'll see it. You'll see it. Just wait for it. HXSAIN. What is your biggest purpose in life with everything you've got going on now? It's so much different now than it was a year ago. Has the purpose changed? I don't think it is that much different now than it was a year ago. I kind of forget how long I've been doing this. I've been posting these daily videos for like a year and a half. My daily routine has not changed much at all, except for the fact that now I'm not going to school. I'm all done with college. So what's the biggest purpose? I don't know. It kind of depends on what you would consider your purpose per se. I know that I get to wake up every day and I've got the bodybuilding training and the diet on my mind. Like that's something that I get to do and put a lot of energy and effort into. But that's not your entire life. That's a few hours that you get to spend, exerting yourself, having fun, practicing something, getting good at something, being proficient at anything and practicing it consistently. That's a pretty massive fucking source of just like satisfaction with being alive, but there is more to it, right? So it's kind of I guess you could say that's the purpose per se, right? The bodybuilding training is probably my number one priority in terms of something I'm actively working on. But the rest of it's just kind of, trying to enjoy, right? Not getting any serious trouble, So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. But that's something that'll change, It's not like, I'm sure what I'm going to say in 5 years is very different than what I'm saying right now. So it's, just go about your business, get good at whatever you're trying to get good at, stack your bread. I think we all get the gist. Favorite bodybuilders growing up? Ooh, you know what? I was a real massive, and I still am on occasion, not as much now. I feel like I'm so, I don't know if you kind of get what I'm saying here. Anybody who's been lifting for a long time might, but I feel like the longer you work out, the less videos you watch of people working out. Didn't mean to stutter there, but it's like I don't know. But early on, massive fucking, I would love all the Machiavelli motivation videos. I'm talking old school like Tom Platz, Kevin Levrone, Dorian Yates, Somebody, fucking everybody. All the top dogs from the 2000s earlier on. I'm watching all these workout edits, fucking hype up motivational everything. That's fucking badass. I watch that stuff now, and it still gets me hyped up like I'm a fucking year one lifter trying to do 225 for the first time. But in terms of more kind of actual, not actual, but kind of more current guys, love Larry Wheels shit, absolute fucking demon, fucking everybody. And it kind of varies, but pretty much the guys that I end up liking the most are the guys who are pushing themselves the hardest and are doing it consistently, Like anybody who's kind of just, like videos of guys where they're in the gym and it's just kind of goofing off or whatever, I don't know, it just doesn't do it as much for me. If I'm watching somebody, if I'm looking up to somebody, it's because they're pushing themselves as hard as they fucking can, and you can tell, so that's kind of, those are the guys that always get me going. I've been watching your videos for a year. I wanted to let you know I'm 195 pounds and climbing. Very nice, Zach Short, 1423. I've been doing my cardio in the morning and working an 8 to 5 during the day. and lifting at night. I know you used to work painting roads. How did you consistently get food in throughout the day when you worked? So this is where I might not actually have the most perfect answer for you, because my kind of routine through college was, when I was going to school, I just went to school. I wasn't working at the time, and I would work during the summers. So I would work in the city. That's when I had my shift was 6:30 to 2:30. And what I would do is I would just make sure that I was dieting during that time. So I didn't actually have to deal with, prepping a ton of meals and like getting a lot of food in, because I was in a deficit. I'd kind of save my food for after the shift. And at 2:30, I'd have my first kind of big meal, and then go weight train, come back, have like 1,700 calories for the rest of the night, go to bed early, and that would be the gist of it. But if I had to give you any tip, man, I mean, you got to be the guy carrying around a big ass lunchbox cooler with some meals prepped in it. Plus, I do not mind a protein shake where you got 2 scoops of whey of whichever one you fancy, and then 3 or 4 packets of like instant oatmeal. I'm talking like the Quakers, like strawberry, blueberry, like the fruity flavored ones. So you can pack that dry. You can keep that on you all the time like a goddamn MRE. And then when it's time for you to get that meal in, that's 100 grams of fucking carbs and 50 grams of protein. And it's going to go down like nothing when you shake it up. Because the oatmeal may still be a little gritty just because it's not like boiled, cooked. But if you let that soak for like 20 minutes before you drink it, you're not going to have a problem. But yeah, it's kind of hard to get around it. If you're going to be away from home or away from like a food source, if you're not working from home or whatever, for more than like 5 hours at a time, you either need access to food when you're gone, or you've got to prep some stuff. Because a 5-hour time gap in the day when you don't get food in a bodybuilding, like bulking context, that's going to hit you hard. And it's going to kind of throw off your momentum. That's something that I'm really kind of putting a lot of emphasis into now for this upcoming bulking phase, is I'm going to really evenly distribute my calories throughout the day so that I never have like a 5-hour period where I don't eat anything and then I have to eat more later on and like try to catch up. If you're bulking, if you're trying to hit like a certain calorie goal for the day and you're trying to play catch up to that calorie number at night, you're setting yourself up for failure. And anybody who's really tried to bulk but has been doing it like that would know what I'm talking about, because it's going to be 8 o'clock at night. You've got 2,000 more calories to eat, and you were kind of irresponsible during the day. You didn't get your meals in. So now it's almost 10. What are you supposed to do? Slam a 2,000 calorie shake? It's not conducive with long-term high volume consumption of food. So that's where I'm starting to get under the impression that these legit kind of bodybuilders know what they're talking about when they say you want nice, evenly sized, consistent meals, 40 grams of protein, 80 grams of carbs, some fats. Now, I definitely think I'm going to have a lot of kind of chicken, rice. Like, I'm talking meal prep for this next bulking phase. I'm still going to have like fucking, hamburgers and fries and whatever else. But I really want to emphasize that eating consistently sized and evenly dispersed meals throughout the day, I think is going to make getting in your calories much easier than just trying to have massive meals, kind of more sporadic, So if that helps, maybe just try to get your 4 meals in per day or 5 meals in per day, but just make sure they're all about the same size. If you have a massive breakfast, you might not be so hungry for that lunch and you're going to end up eating less. Whereas if you have a moderate sized meal every time, I think it's going to be a little bit easier to get in the groove of just chowing down. Did you imagine yourself becoming a popular gym influencer when you started the channel? Well, not necessarily. I mean, I definitely posted these videos because the basic origin, or the basic kind of upbringing in a way, was I was posting like joke kind of style TikToks for like 6 months straight. But it would be funny because I'm saying like a random ass like Lizzo squat challenge and I'm squatting like 500 pounds. But if you're squatting a lot of weight like that, people are kind of interested, like, what kind of training is this guy fucking doing? So I'd get enough comments that were like, we want to see the actual training videos. And I'm like, if this is where the YouTube account had like, 2,000 subscribers, and these first few videos were getting like 1,000 views a week. But in my mind, I'm like, dude, 1,000 people want to see the training? Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to record it. I was already working out anyway. It's really not that hard. Well, it's not that much work per se to now suddenly record something that I was already doing. You know, if I'm already going to drive to the gym, do an hour workout, hour and a half workout, then drive back, it pretty much fits perfectly to fucking just slap the camera in there and start spewing some intel. It's definitely, if that's you though, if you kind of want to start posting stuff, and I mean videos where you're talking to the camera, that's a skill. That's something that you're gonna have to get used to. You know, before I even posted the first like spring bulk, like last year, it was a leg day, I would put my phone on the tripod in the car and talk to myself on the way to the gym, like probably maybe eight or like 9 times or something. I'm not sure, just to kind of develop a little bit of a, you know, because for you, I'm talking to you directly, but for me, I'm talking to nobody. You know, so it's a little funky. It kind of takes a little bit of practice, but no, I definitely did not imagine that it would get as big as it has now. In no fucking way. I thought it would get kind of big. Like that's what I was hoping, right? If you start posting anything, that's what you hope. But no, it definitely exceeded my expectations. You guys are spoiling me. Zico the Don says, when you record at these gyms, do you get permission or do they not really care? It depends on the gym. You know, the tripod culture is getting a little more normal, which to some people is very fucking annoying. But it depends on the gym. You know, if you're going to a new Planet Fitness you've never been to and it's packed and you want to like record some clips to make a TikTok edit of your workout, you know, maybe use some caution, right? Because that's not necessarily the place to just bust out a tripod. But if you're going to just like your normal gym, you're a regular, I wouldn't stress it. Honestly, I think you probably should. I'm not talking record every set. It is kind of much, and I know I do that, so I'm kind of like, it doesn't sound so genuine coming from me. But I do like the tripods now because honestly, it's so much easier to record your own progress. Like when I look back at my training photos and my training videos, I have barely anything from the first 3 years of me lifting. Like I've got like side chests and like lat spreads and shit where I'm holding the camera. But if I actually had a legit tripod that I was putting my phone on and doing like little posing videos and like workout videos and like recording my sets and stuff, I definitely wish I did, you know. So $20 on Amazon for just a phone tripod, I think is worth it. If not for posting, just for your own historical value, so you can look back at yourself when you're training. Because sure, you doing a top set of bench may seem kind of mundane right now, but you're going to want to look back at it in a couple years. If not just for, you know, enjoyment, but you can also kind of compare it to where you are now. So I kind of flip that question around, but I think get a tripod, you know, just for your own sake. The new villain, if you're cutting but you have a muscle group that's a bit behind, should you increase the calories on the day you train that lagging muscle group and keep all the other days at a deficit? Well, it's not going to hurt you. The only thing that would really matter there is, are you in a deficit the entire time? You know, because if you have 3 days where you're eating in a deficit, like let's say right here is like calorie maintenance. If you eat slightly below maintenance for 3 days, but then one day you have a really high day, this one really high day can counteract those 3 days in your deficit. So I like the logic, and honestly, I don't think it's a bad approach, but you got to make sure that that kind of higher feed day doesn't exceed and counteract the 3 good days you had in a deficit, you know. But no, I think that'd be fine. If I knew my legs were a bit weaker, then I might do the same. Like if I had a body part that was especially weaker, then I might do the same thing. You know, if my legs really need a lot of work, I might have more of kind of a calorie maintenance intake on my leg days, just so I can kind of leverage some more weight, get some more stimulus, and then, you know, hopefully maybe a little bit more muscle mass, or at least more muscle retention through the process of dieting. But yeah, man, love the content. Started watching when I was training to be an airline pilot. You're going to be the most jacked airline pilot out there. You're goddamn right, man. That's fucking badass. Spoot D12. What's your opinion about combining the gym with a combat sport such as boxing? I think that is fucking badass. You know, I'm not necessarily so inclined to get into any kind of rolling or, you know, sparring sessions right now, because I don't want to like tweak my elbows and like hurt myself or anything. But eventually, once I get to the point where I'm kind of at my kind of, let's say, maintenance physique, whenever that ends up being, I could totally get into some of that. And honestly, I'd probably feel pretty cool knowing I get a little bit more confidence in being able to handle myself, you know. Even though I'm going to be 260, actual hand-to-hand fighting experience, let's just say it can definitely counteract a certain weight discrepancy, you know. So I think that's a fucking badass combo. And then that's pretty solid cardio. You know, if you go to your boxing gym fucking 3 times a week early in the morning for an hour, you're going to be drenched as long as you're actually, you know, pushing yourself hard. So I love it. Just don't get concussed, you know, wear your headgear. Aiden5353 says, how far do you plan on going with the YouTube content? And do you have any long-term goals for bodybuilding? Well, those two things got to go hand in hand, you know. Like, as long as I'm working out in bodybuilding, there's going to be videos. So it's really, I think the real question is just how far is the bodybuilding side of things going to go? And that's to be determined, you know. As long as everything's going well, I foresee some pretty wild muscle growth in the next few years. But that's something where we'll just have to see. So keep your eyes open, right? Tune into one of these videos every week or so, or every month or so, and see how I'm doing. But yeah, it's just as long as I'm lifting, it's not too hard for me to pump out one of these. Plus, you guys watch them, so I feel like I owe you in a way. It's like, why would I take away the daily videos, you know? Drew IHG43 says, would you suggest doing cardio on separate days to lifting or on the same day? So, I think in an ideal routine, you're going to be able to do your cardio training every morning of every week, to infinity, barring, serious injury or sickness. And then weight train in the evening. That's what I like. Now, some guys like lifts in the morning and they would maybe do their cardio in the evening, whatever. For me, I like cardio every day, lifting every day. Now, if I need a rest day, then I'll take one. But if you do your cardio at 8 in the morning and you don't work out until 6 at night, you're not going to feel that cardio at 6 at night. I might have said I was feeling a little tired today, but that's just because I'm in a deficit. I was no longer fatigued from that cardio this morning, As the whole day passed, I got to eat my food, kind of recover, rest up. I'm totally ready for a hard lift at night. So I say do your cardio in the morning, go about your day, have a hard lift in the evening. Perfect. Now, if you got to kind of change that around because of your day-to-day routine, do what you got to do. But somehow, if you can manage to get both of those sessions in, or maybe not even sessions, just like go for a walk, everybody's got a treadmill in their basement with like clothes hanging off of it. It can be done. It is a chore though, so ease into it. Don't feel bad if you're not doing your cardio yet, but I really hope that you're at least thinking about adding it into your routine. Jose Bernardino 3535 says, how do you stay so consistent? I can always start a fitness journey strong, but I fall so hard all the time. What keeps me going? So I'm spoiled. I'm late in the game right now. Or maybe not late in the game. I'm deep in the game right now. I've gone through the initial phase of being a beginner to the point where I've got substantial gains. So every time I get to go to the gym, I also orient my whole day around it. I'm pretty much always in the zone. I can't even remember the last time I had a bad lift. And even the lifts where I'm like, I got jack shit for sleep and I kind of feel sick, I still like it anyway, because then, I kind of get the satisfaction of finishing that workout, even if it was hard and I felt bad. I get to finish the workout and say, even though I felt bad, I still did that. Nice. So it's kind of like, I think you might be thinking about this question in the wrong way. Like when guys ask me, like, what gets me hyped up for like a big heavy set? It's like, Sam, what demons are you fighting when you're like screaming doing a set of 5-plate squats? It's like, I just want to do it, The act of like pushing myself that hard and like the training and just going, like, I'm just wired in a way where I love it. And it shows. Sometimes in a bad way, I think for me, if you look at like the screen time of my thoughts in my brain, the gym is number one. I'm thinking about it, diet, sleep, the training, everything. Like the one thing I probably spend the most time doing except for sleeping, it's probably working out. And that is definitely not a good thing for every person, you know? So, of course, for me, if that's my thing, if I really fucking love doing it, I don't necessarily need motivation per se. I just want to. You know, if you asked a goddamn local from Hawaii, why does he go surf every night, or why does he go surf every morning? He likes it, you know? So that's where you might have to try to figure out, and this is something I'll say in 1 second, but you got to figure out a way to like it. And that's where looking up to guys and like seeing guys training hard. Like when I see videos of fucking Dorian Yates, whenever I do machine pullovers, that's instantly who I think about. You know, so that's the, like, I want to recreate that kind of intensity, even if I can't get it as hard as he's going yet. That's the stuff that, like, I'm hyped up, I'm energized, I just like it. So if you have a training routine that you don't like, and you know you don't like it, then that's something you got to change. You know, because if you can't, you have to make your training routine fit your life. If you try to make your life fit a random training routine that someone has written out for you, or that you've like just suddenly come up with, it's going to be kind of tricky, you know? You have to be able to ease into it, because if it becomes a chore, you kind of already failed in a way, you know? And I don't mean failed, but like the guys who can lift on the daily, on the regular, for years on end, they don't really think of the gym as a chore. They're excited about it, you know? So I think you just have to somehow spark some kind of internal fucking excitement. And that's easier said than done, you know? So that's kind of on you, man. That's your own kind of internal journey. But once you can do that, it's no longer a question of like motivation. You want to do it. So that's if we could pull an Inception and I could get into your mind and like flip that lift and switch, I would. But you know, we live in the real world, so you got to figure that out on your own. Centopane, what are your top 5 anime? And bonus question, would you be open to streaming gaming content in the future? The gaming side of things, maybe. That seems kind of funny. But top 5 anime, I've got some. I don't have one that like supersedes any other, but I'm talking JoJo, I'm talking Berserk, I'm talking One Piece, I'm talking Attack on Titan. And honestly, even though it's like a little kiddish, Demon Slayer is getting pretty cool, right? Every time there's a new episode, I'm watching the Hashira training arc. It's pretty fucking badass. And then, I know you said 5, but number 6, Tokyo Ghoul's in there as well. Those, oh man, now you're getting me rolling. Parasite the Maxim, really good. I like this one called Dorohedoro. It's about this guy with an alligator head. It's kind of 3D animated, but they did it tastefully. And I got a whole list. I got a whole fucking list. And if you're not watching any of those, if you're just limiting your media consumption to like Suits and Young Sheldon, I think you're missing out. I think you're missing out on some pretty fucking top tier storytelling there. So, this is a good one. ISRAHNN, like death row meals, but it's death row training. What would your last training session look like? Well, I might be inclined to try to do a lot of weight, but if it's my last training session ever, I probably wouldn't want to hurt myself. So I think this question really comes down to which lifts or which part of my body do I want fully pumped. This is my last pump ever. And put your guesses in now. What do you think it's going to be? Wrong. Or right, if you were right. Probably fucking chest, you know. Because a chest pump, apart from the fact that having my chest being pumped up is cool, my chest days are a little extra. You know, I turn the knob to 11 on my chest pumps. And I'll explain why. What happens is, for one thing, at the end of chest, my chest is fucking pumped. Sick. But since I did heavy pressing, presumably, my triceps also got a decent amount of activation. Not to the point where they're going to be sore or I feel like they're going to be like weak in a few days when I do actual, you know, my real tricep workout. But I'm going to get a little bit of a tricep pump from the heavy pushing. And then, also from the heavy pushing, my shoulders are going to be going. And not just front delt, side delt, and probably rear delt a little bit too. Because my shoulder's like the number one kind of stabilizer that's keeping my arm from being all willy-nilly when I'm pressing. Like, my whole kind of fucking shoulder is firing just to keep my pressing in line. And whenever I finish with cable flies or even pec deck flies, I've got some tension being transferred through my biceps. And usually that's my last movement of the lift. So when I finish a good hard chest day, not only is my chest pumped, my triceps are kind of pumped, my biceps are kind of pumped, my shoulders are kind of pumped, my whole torso is like just a fucking level above baseline. So if I was guaranteed about to croak, chest is going to be my last day. That was a really good question. I love seeing that one. So why did I start lifting, and what motivated me early on? What's your motivation to train so hard? And then one more. Can you show me in the video for an edit? And greet me. My name is Sabu. Well, there you go with that one. But what's my motivation? I mean, I said this a second ago. I just like it, man. You know, it's fun. And then also, there is a little bit of kind of a, you know, active part of that too. I don't just like it. I also know that if you can find something, if you can basically fill this hole which you've got inside you, which you may not know is there, with something that you get to work at on the regular, like every day, put a lot of effort into, and also enjoy the process of doing it, that is going to make your days feel so much better, you know? Because if you don't have something like that, if you know somebody who's like a serious, and it could be anything, if you know somebody who's like a serious fucking gun nut, and they're going to the gun range every fucking day, or maybe they're like a competitive shooter, or they're fucking, or whatever. A real good example, guys that do jiu-jitsu, guys that box, even if they're not actually competing, they get to do that pretty consistently throughout the week. You know, they also get to break a sweat, which is really fucking good for your brain. I mean, you're releasing some good dopamine. You know, I'm not talking like sitting and doom scrolling on your phone, like the kind of feel good chemicals that are pumping out into your brain from doing solid exercise. That's good for you. That's something you're going to want to maximize. So taking all that into account, that also pushes me to know, like, okay, this is good for me. This is nice. And now I'm in the thick of it. I get to wake up every day and I have something which I know I'm going to put energy into, and I know I'm going to get energy back from the enjoyment of doing it. You know, so if you don't have something like that, that's your cue. That's your call to action to say, all right, I got to find what I like. I got to find what I'm good at. And sometimes those two things aren't in line with each other. You know, I'm extra spoiled because I like working out, and at this point I am good at it. Right? Somebody could like the idea of playing guitar, but if they just, no matter how much they practice, they can never get good at it. It's, you know, it might be kind of more of a dead end kind of situation, you know? Or somebody, I mean, anybody like prodigy level per se, like real high level at anything, sometimes they might be really good at something, but just not really like it. They don't get any fun from it. So if you can find something which is somehow in the middle of those two things, and you can work at it consistently and make noticeable progress over time, you're going to realize some pretty serious fucking satisfaction and contentness with your days. And I believe that pretty wholeheartedly. Hey Sam, what do you think about Luffy's new Gear 5? I think it's a little OP. I mean, they pretty much just buffed him. But the fact that the Gorosei are so fucking tough too kind of makes it balance out. So I think it's cool. I mean, I've been following that for the last like 7 years or so. So it's definitely cool. I don't know what else they would have done, but I like it. I definitely like it. Honest thoughts on calisthenics and powerlifting. And then Ahmad Aldori, what do you think about calisthenics? Same thing. So I don't know. I like it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a different kind of training. You know, that's not really what I'm into. If I wanted to learn how to do planches and handstands and like, you know, kind of street workouts, that's what I'd be doing, you know? And these guys look good too. Anybody who's really doing serious calisthenics, or they can do like legit muscle ups and they're spinning around like doing flips, and they look good. And you know why that is? It's because they do something active like for hours at a time, pretty frequently throughout the week. And, you know, they get to kind of spend some serious time and energy on it. So I think somehow everybody needs some kind of physical outlet. Everybody from every age, demographic, race, gender, everything. I think that you need to break a sweat every day. And however you do that is however you do it, you know? Like, I feel like I'm a little bit, I'm like split down the middle in a way, where sometimes I'm giving advice about the gym where it's like, you've got to take this set as hard as you ever fucking can, just because you know you can. Like, if you know you have a little more energy left in the tank, try to get as much water out of the towel as like I'm talking to the freak show. That's me talking to the potential freak show. But on the other side, kind of the more like softer, fluffier side, it's like the gym's just good for you. It is literally just good for you to get weight-based muscular activation on a consistent basis and doing your cardio. You know, so no matter how you do that, if you want to do polo classes or fucking Pilates or those videos where it's like the suburban moms and with the elastic bands and they're like swinging around the yoga room, who cares? I think if you're active on the regular, that is very good for you. So if that's from calisthenics or whatever, that sounds cool to me. And then powerlifting. I fucking love powerlifting. I'm watching powerlifting videos, getting hyped up. I'm not a powerlifter, but I like it. And then a little side note, I'm just going to kind of insert a question because it kind of matches. Sumo or conventional. I mean, I'll be honest with you, you know, a 18-year-old 150-pound guy pulling the same amount as John Hack on a conventional deadlift, and this guy's doing sumo. I mean, I think, well, it just kind of depends on what you really define strength as. You know, is it because it's skill? Like, strength is also skill, but you know, if that kid tried to do it conventional, would it be the same number? It's not for me to say. I'm not the powerlifting organization that's making these rules, but they're both pretty fucking wild. When I see 600 pounds moving, no matter what the method, that's pretty fucking nuts. You know, but I think sometimes if you only got like 2-inch range of motion, you're getting a little wild. You know, you're getting a little wild with it there. Oh, that was the last one. Let me try to scan for a few more. See, I already kind of answered these ones already. Favorite anime? Top 5 anime again. All right, I gotta answer these since I gotta keep scrolling. ALCXTRXZ, how fast can you render a spoon unusable in a diplomatic situation? So, you know, not including magic where I hold it like this and I like pretend to bend it. You know, he's talking like I'm taking a thing of silverware off the table underneath, do a little magic, bring it up into a ball like Jack Hanma chewing up a nail. Give me 20 seconds. You know, I think you give me 20 seconds and I can pretty much wreck a spoon into nothingness. But it kind of depends on the spoon, man, you know. When you go to the grocery store and you look in the silverware aisle, you've got the $10 set of silverware, you got the $10 50-piece set, and then you got the $80 50-piece set. And I'm no strongman. You know, you're not going to catch me bending an actual, like, steel skillet like Eddie Hall can, like butter. So I think I could do it. I don't think that's necessarily the most insane test of strength that I've ever heard of. So I could, let's say 30 seconds. That's my final number there. Let me try to find one more. Let's just find one little more in here. There we go. This will be a good finisher as we drive home. Just tell me more about the cat, to be honest. Let me know their story from Plupajou. That's a perfect ender. So, the cat, the little feline, his name is Oliver. He is, at this point, I believe, actually, crap, how old is he? I need to like find, I can't remember. I think he's about a year old because I'm pretty sure we got him last summer as a kitten. One of my mom's work friends had a litter of them that they were seeing if anybody could adopt. So our last cat was, she got up to like 17. She just got sick. She was a total demon. I'm talking, you know, catching mice, squirrels, birds, rabbits, the occasional chipmunk, like on to the point where it kind of became a chore to actually deal with the guts, because she was more of a trophy killer. She'd bring the guts to the back door, leave them, and then we'd have to kind of clean them up. But it had been a few years, and I'm like, this house is missing a cat. You know, honestly, if you're living in a place where you've got a big enough yard to have an outdoor cat, half outdoor, half indoor, I don't think you're going to regret that move. So it had been long enough. I'm like, you guys got to get a kitten. My dad really didn't care for it. He's like, it's going to be a mess. But I convinced my mom. I was like, anytime you see a lead, make that move. So we brought him over. We've kind of been doing a half inside, half outside sort of approach with him. But he's funny. He's pretty funny. Not the most cuddly cat that I've ever seen. Oh, there we go. That guy's he's in a florid red truck. I saw you there. He's waving. But yeah, not the most cuddly, not the most affectionate, but he's wild. He's wild. To the point where we're letting him outside and he's gone for like 3 days before we see him again. But he would catch a few mice and stuff. He's kind of indoor. We we feed him, but he'll catch some stuff too. But it's kind of funny. I can tell when he misses me. Like if I've been gone for a week or two, and then I suddenly come back and I haven't seen him for a minute, he's extra nice, rubbing his head on me and everything. Love that little guy. It's nice having a little kitty companion running around. Yeah. So I guess kind of translating that question, am I a dog or am I a cat person? Well, I mean, you're fucking comparing apples to oranges, man. They're completely different animals, completely different vibes. You could roughhouse with your dog a little bit, but you're a little more cuddly with the cat. So I'm more of a kind of a 2-for-1 deal. Just get one of each. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about this. So since the cat was raised in the house with our dog already fully grown, the cat is Oliver's a little doggish, to the point where they wrestle. I'm talking, we've got a couple videos where the dog, this is a 40-pound little golden doodle, the dog gets like suplexed to the floor because the cat will grab her neck and bite her. That's always fun. That's always fun to watch. But yeah, hope I'll do more of these. I'll do these more frequently. You guys are asking some good questions. So plan now is go home, get some food in my system, get some actually really get some protein in my system. I'm talking a tub of 10 servings of egg whites. And if you're dieting down and you're buying like a dozen whole eggs and then separating the yolks, that's not it, man. It is so quick to make 50 grams of protein worth of eggs when all you have to do is pour the eggs from the carton into your pan and then kind of stir fry it up. And you know what I've been doing? This will be my last little tip before we just talk about the lift and everything, is when it comes to ground beef and like even the egg whites too, I haven't really been cooking them in a pan anymore. I'm much more of a fucking like small pot kind of guy, just because if I have to set ground beef down to the pan, I don't want to stir it because I don't want to like spill it outside. So I end up leaving it on low. It's kind of taking forever. Now what I've kind of been doing is I just slam the heat to high. I can throw in a pound of ground beef, and now of course I got to sit there and kind of actively stir it up so like the bottom doesn't burn or anything. But it's like the quickest method. It's like the fastest method I know of. So I've been doing the same thing with the eggs, where I just throw them into a pot, decently high heat, non-stick, just kind of stir it up like a fucking automatic fried rice cooker. And then once it's done, bowl, mustard, low-fat hot sauce or zero sugar barbecue sauce, some low-carb bread on the side. That's fucking perfect for me. So cardio in the morning, followed by a leg workout, the likes of which I'm definitely going to try to get very well rested for. And then we are getting close to actually starting to eat again. So if you're still watching, I'm always looking at the analytics of these. The viewership dies down. So if you're still watching, you're definitely you're one of the dedicated viewers, that's for sure. But when it comes to this bulk, I'm going to go about it as such. I've tried bulking up historically by pretty much launching myself into a massive surplus right off the rip. I'm talking 5,000 calories on day one, indefinitely. So I know I'm in a surplus, but what happens is I get an immediate 3 months of like really solid weight gain, but then I just can't keep it going, you know, because I've kind of oversaturated my system. So this last bulk where I got up to 260, that was my heaviest morning weight, like empty stomach, fasted, and after going to the bathroom. So a legit 260 for the first time. It was the easiest I'd ever got that heavy because I eased into the calories over time, which I've always said this to myself, but I just haven't ended up doing it because I kind of always felt like more is better. But the way that these next few months are going to look is for this first month, I'm essentially just going to eat as much as I'm hungry for. So, you know, I'm not going to give myself a calorie limit, except for the fact that I'm going to make sure my fats don't get too high. I mean, I'm going to limit my fat intake to like 150 grams per day. And my protein is still going to be the same 250 grams that I'm doing right now, dieting. But when it comes to the carbs, for this first month, I'm pretty much just going to eat when I'm hungry. So eat enough to, you know, be full and then go from there. So what that's going to look like is probably about 3,500 calories, maybe 4,000 calories, but nothing crazy. You know, I want to get my appetite in gear and my metabolism in gear, but I don't want to overeat. You know, especially during these first few weeks, I'm not going to be able to do anything with an extra 1,000 calories on top of a surplus. All I'm gonna end up doing is speeding up my fucking fat deposit time, you know? So even though the main issue people have with bulking up is the fact that like, oh, I can't eat enough food to grow. If bulking is not necessarily a problem for you, then you might need to be a little bit more cautious with how much food you're eating. Because if you're gaining weight too fast, you know, odds are you're not gaining 5 pounds of muscle per week. It's more likely you're putting on maybe 1 or 2 at the max, but then you're really just putting on, you know, an extra few pounds of fat. You know, so just as you want to diet with a reasonable rate, you want to bulk at a reasonable rate as well. Because if you try to exceed that rate and go too fast, then what's going to happen, you know, if you diet too hard, you're going to start to lose fat and muscle. And if you try to bulk too hard, too quickly, you're going to start gaining muscle, but you're going to also start putting fat on top of it, you know? So that's where I think easing into it is going to help my progress immensely. So month 1, when I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. And that's going to start as basically the baseline calorie intake of getting me to about maintenance. Because for me, me eating enough to the point where I'm not hungry, that's about maintenance. That's about where my appetite is at. You know, I don't have a naturally crazy appetite to the point where I'm just like instantly gaining weight as soon as I let my guard down and I start eating whatever I feel like. And my appetite's big enough that I'm not like crazy lean because I'm not like hungry. I'm kind of right in the middle. So this first month is just going from deficit to about calorie maintenance. And then I'm going to increase month to month. Or maybe 3 weeks to 3 weeks, you know, to be determined. But every month I'm going to end up eating a bit more than I did in the last month. And what I predict is going to happen is I am just going to continue to fucking grow like a goddamn weed until we get to the point where I just physically can't eat enough food and can't, you know, maintain the calorie intake to sustain muscle growth. And I'll be able to say like, okay, I'm not growing. I really can't eat any more food now. Like I'm trying to optimize everything. It's just not going to happen. Now I can start dieting down. The bulk has been completed. I've done as much as I could. And I don't want you to hear that as though, because I mean, I just said it. I can't eat any more food. It's time to stop the bulk. Yeah, I think that's a good indicator you've bulked hard enough. But that should be late. That should be late stage bulk. I'm talking months deep. You know, if it's 1 month in and you're telling yourself, I can't eat any more food. I mean, I hate to be rude about it, but in a way you do kind of have to just suck it up. You know, because just as dieting and burning fat and getting leaner is a chore, I mean, you physically have to pretty much be in a state of relative hunger all day and not satiate it. The same thing goes with bulking. You know, you can't expect to just eat when you're hungry and gain substantial weight and muscle mass. You have to actually put energy and effort into it and make sure your food is on point. as much as I like, and I've said this a couple times before already, as much as I like really focusing on my training and making sure the training is right, plus my sleep, but that's kind of basic. I know that I know I should get good sleep. You know, that's kind of that's a cut and dry approach. Like, I know if I did that right, and I know if I did that wrong. But the dieting side, the calorie intake side, that is the real fucking separator of men versus boys. You know, because the guys who can actually lock in on their diet and get their protein intake in and get their consistent meals in, and if they're dieting down, limiting their calories, or if they're trying to bulk up, making sure they're eating enough consistently to gain weight, those are the guys who actually get results. And if you're not at that point yet, I really just kind of have to say, you know, you have to know, like, that's where you're going to want to be. The guys who make serious fucking results, natural or not, are the guys who fucking have their diet locked in. And I know it sucks because it's, you know, it's a chore, right? A lot of people like the gym because they get to go work out, be in decent shape, but not worry about their diet. But if you know you want more than that, if you know you want more results and more progress than that, and you know you're willing to work at it, then you really do have to get your diet on point. And I'm thinking the same thing. I'm not saying this from like, you have to eat exactly like, I'm trying to work on my fucking diet. You know, look, I've gotten this big, and a non-negligible amount of donuts and cereal and McDonald's has contributed to it. But I'm talking like, I gotta fucking start to lock in, you know, because as crazy as it sounds, getting to 250, it's a lot easier than getting to fucking 280. So I got to make sure that every variable is getting as close to on point as possible. And in doing so, I can expect results from those added challenges and difficulties. But, you know, I really can't say it plainly enough. If you're not gaining weight, you're not eating enough food. And if you're not losing weight, then you're eating too much food. And there's really no way to get around it. So the sooner you can really realize that, like, not just hear words, but actually understand that in your own mind and be able to realize, like, oh shit, yeah, I just had a fucking massive calorie day. I gotta lock it in tomorrow, or else I'm not even gonna be dieting anymore. You gotta kind of take hold of your own reality there and take some responsibility, you know, because it's easy not to worry about it. It's easy not to worry about your diet, but you are missing out. More likely, you are missing out more than you know. I'll give you this hypothetical, man. What if for the next 6 months, you actually made sure that you got your, 200 grams of protein in, that you actually got your 500 grams of carbs and your 150 grams of fats in, and like you trained hard and you were full of carbs? And what kind of results do you think would happen if you did 6 months of a real diet, be it bulking or dieting, and combine that with hard, consistent training? What would you look like? Because I can guarantee after 6 months of that, no matter if you're a beginner or a semi-advanced lifter, if you really lock it in, after not that long, it's going to show. So if you're not making any gains, if you're not making any progress, if you're just kind of repeating the same day over and over again, where you look the same, you lift the same weights, you have the same injuries, you just keep repeating the same loop, you can't expect any change to just happen magically. If you didn't make any results this past month, if you do the same training, why would you expect any new results this month? So that's where you got to kind of look at yourself from the third person and say, oh, well, maybe getting 80 grams of protein in per day isn't ideal. And it's unfortunate to say that is not a rare scenario that I hear. So that's I think that's all I got to say there. Arms complete, pumped, tired. I'm fucking starving. So I'm ready to eat some food, go to bed, and have dreams about the hour of cardio I'm going to do tomorrow morning. Actually, no, I'm doing a half hour. 1 hour of cardio is a fucking lot. I'm going back to a half hour. I'm not in prep. I'm not in peak week. Nah. But every so often, you gotta up the difficulty. So whether it's 30 minutes or an hour, I know that might be a certain period of time longer than an unfortunate amount of lifters are doing. So take with that what you will. But I'll see you tomorrow for what I pretty much know is going to be a nasty leg day.